A very good afternoon to all of you. It is that educate a girl, child, and you educate a nation. On behalf of TNAI Maharashtra State Bank, in collaboration with SMES SSPG College of Nursing, it's immense pleasure to welcome you all for this webinar on the occasion of International Women's Day. I call upon Ms. Shilpa Shittika ma'am, Principal of SSPG SMES, to give welcome address.
Good afternoon, everyone. International Women's Day is celebrated commemorating the political, social, and economic achievements of women. Over the decades, the objectives of Women's Day celebration has evolved and embraced culture to emerge as a celebration of appreciation, respect, and love towards women. It has become an integral part of the curriculum to spread awareness of women empowerment, gender equality, their roles and achievements. This year, the theme helps us to imagine the gender equal world, celebrate women's achievements, raise awareness against bias, take action for an equality on behalf of Seva Mandal Education Society, Srimati Sunanda, Pravin, Gambhirchand College of Nursing, and Trained Nurses Association of India, Maharashtra State Branch. I welcome all the speakers and participants to be a part of this webinar and embrace their views on the gender equality today's for a sustainable tomorrow, with the sub-theme of LGBTQIA, understanding the facts and need for an amendment in CBME curriculum. Thank you.
Warm welcome. Now I call upon Ms. Shureka Sawant ma'am, TNA President, Maharashtra State Branch, for theme opening on International Women's Day.
Namaskar. A very good afternoon to everyone. Respected esteemed speakers, Advocate Abhay Shukla sir, PSI Mr. Deepak Dhumalwad, Psychiatrist Dr. Bhushan Shukla, Dr. Indrajit Khandekar, Professor Forensic Medicine, all faculty members of Seva Mandal Education Society's College of Nursing and A&M School, and all my dear participants. It's my privilege to address you as a State President of TNAI Maharashtra State Branch on the occasion of International Women's Day, which is normally celebrated on 8th March every year. Theme for this year being Gender Equality Today for a Sustainable Tomorrow. The phrases work-life balance and gender equality are conventional terms that are used loosely today. Today, women have independent and equal roles and are making significant contributions to the economy and in governance, business, and hotel industry, or by doing unpaid chores at home also. One such day that upholds women's achievements and celebrates the economic, political, and social achievements of women while showing respect and admiration is International Women's Day. But why in 21st century also we need to discuss this issue? Is it new challenge? All types of genders have been there right from the birth of earth. Why it still remains a challenge of gender equality? The gender equality is when people of all genders have equal rights, equal responsibilities, and opportunities. But when it is not maintained, then everyone is affected by gender equality. Women, men, trans, and gender diverse people. It impacts people of all ages and backgrounds. To balance it for sustainable tomorrow, we need gender equality urgently. It is essential for economic prosperity. Societies that value women and men and all gender diverse community as equal are safer and healthier societies. And gender equality is a human right. Figures indicate 80% of people displaced by climatic change and climatic related disasters are women and girls, while 70% of the 1.3 billion people living in conditions of poverty are women. So if you look at these figures, you will realize that balance of equality is not maintained. That is the reason UN level sustainable development goals address the global challenges including poverty, inequality, climate change, environmental degradation, peace and justice. Sustainable development can be defined as development that meets the need of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. The climate crisis and gender equality are two core issues at the heart of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. The global effort to advance gender equality and tackle climate change at the same time is one of the greatest challenges to humanity in the 21st century. It is crucial that sustainability and gender equality efforts globally go hand in hand. And thus, this is a time to recognize the female trailblazers contributing to sustainable and climatic friendly initiatives. And having such thing will create more awareness among public to think about gender equality, everyone, and shall impact their mindset to move towards it, making all efforts towards balancing it and giving their human rights, which will definitely save their tomorrow through sustainable development to reach their goals of healthy and safer society. Thank you. So wishing everyone a happy Women's Day, all the participants.
Thank you, ma'am, for such a wonderful view on International Women's Day. Now we start with our webinar. As Lydia Maria said, law is not law if it violates the principle of eternal justice. Our first speaker is from the field of law, Advocate Akshay D. Shukla sir, who is an advocate at Bombay High Court, Mumbai. Sir has completed LLB from Jitendra Chauhan College of Law, Mumbai University in 2016. BA Psychology from LS Raheja College, Mumbai University in 2018. Presently, he is pursuing LLM from Akola Law College, Amravati University. Regarding her experience, Sir has 2 years as intern in Jurisdict Navigator, and further he has continued as an associate advocate for 7 months over there. In Law Chamber of Siddharth Murarka, he worked for 4 months as associate advocate. And also he worked with Miss Solicitors Lex, which is an solicitor firm, as an associate advocate for 2 years, more than 2 years. There he has handled many cases under civil matters, property matters, consumer matter, etc. Regarding teaching experience, he is a visitor faculty at Srimati K.T. Shah Law School and MMP Shah College in Matunga, and was a guest lecturer at A.H. Wadia High School and Bhavan's Nature and Adventure Club, Andheri West. Also, he in Srimati Sunanda Pravin College of Nursing. Presently, he is a committee member of Grievance Redressal Cell and Internal Complaint Cell as an advocate. Regarding his achievement, he has bagged with many medals. One of his gold medal he got in the best cadet. I welcome you, sir, in this webinar. Now the platform is open for you.
Well, thank you so much for the introduction, ma'am. And firstly, I would like to thank this nursing college for giving this opportunity to me to talk about gender equality with respect to LGBTQIA and law. All right. So, firstly, starting with talking about gender equality. See, usually when we talk about gender equality, the first thing that crosses our mind is gender equality between men and women. All right. So since many ages, since much time, women have been taking a lot of beating with respect to inequality in our society. So gradually there have been developments in the constitution, there have been changes, and every citizen, see, firstly, the constitution provides is giving fundamental right to each and every citizen of this country. All right. So fundamental rights are something very fundamental, something that those are very basic rights which every citizens must have. So there are certain crucial fundamental rights which were being violated of women, like they did not have equal pay for the equal work. They did not have that much of opportunity at work. So gradually there have been a lot of improvement on this front. But unfortunately, when it comes to gender equality, sometimes our society conveniently forgets about the third gender, which is also very important. Further, we also sometimes forget that they also are the citizens of India and also are equally entitled to the fundamental rights which have been guaranteed to us by the Constitution of India. So, firstly, I'd like to give you a little briefing about one of the most important fundamental rights that we all have. We all citizens have here. So, fundamental rights are basic rights which have been guaranteed. All right, it's not a warranty; it's guaranteed to you by the Constitution. So part 3 of the Indian Constitution, it talks all about the fundamental rights, the part 3, which is also one of the most important parts of the Indian Constitution. So part 3 is starting from Article 12 to Article 35, which talks about various fundamental rights which are the citizens are entitled to. So starting with one of the most important is right to equality. That is Article 14. So, Article 14 of the Constitution states that the state shall not deny to any person equality before the law or the equal protection of laws within the territory of India. All right. So, the state shall not deny to any person equality before the law. It also means equal protection of the law. All right. Secondly, Article 15 also talks that the state shall not discriminate against any citizen on ground only on the basis of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, or any of them. And no citizen shall, on the ground of only of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, or any of them, be subjected to any disability or liability, restrictions or conditions with regards to any profession or education or anything of that sort, which a normal person will have the right. The same rights are also they are entitled to, because since long we have been the society has been neglecting the recognition of such valuable and precious rights to the third gender. All right. Now going further with the fundamental rights, coming on to Article 19. Article 19 talks about freedom of speech and expression. So all citizens have the right to freedom of speech and expression and so forth. So a third gender is also in a way the way they behave. It is one of the expression, the way they carry themselves. It is one of the expression. So every person has a right to uh, of freedom of speech and expression. So this is one of the way of expressing themselves as a third gender, and no person should be discriminated on the basis of these grounds. And coming on to Article 21, which is right to life. All right. This cannot be suspended under any circumstances. All right. See, during the times of emergency, probably some of the fundamental rights may be suspended, time being till the emergency is on. But Article 21 is something which, under any circumstances, cannot be suspended. All right. So Article 21 says that no person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty except according to the procedures established by law. So it talks about the deprivation of life and personal liberty. So no person should be deprived of it. So when there is no recognition or there is bias or there is discrimination against the third gender or against women on on any basis, it is directly in violation of the fundamental right which has been guaranteed to us in the Indian Constitution. So if there is discrimination on the basis of sex or gender or caste or race or anything of that sort, this is directly in violation of Article 21, that is right to life. All right. So as these rights, as I just said, have been guaranteed to us under the Indian Constitution, so now every right has a corresponding duty. All right. So if you have freedom of speech and expression, all right. So just because there is a freedom of speech and expression does not mean that the person can go on and say anything or maybe defame somebody. That is not the right that the person has. So as I said, every right has a corresponding duty. So if you have a right of freedom of speech and expression, it is also your duty to see to it that you do not violate anybody's freedom of speech and expression. If you have Article 21, right to life, when you have a right to life, it is your equal duty to see to it that because of you, nobody's right to life has been violated. Or right to life does not mean only the life. Right to life is something that has been used as an umbrella term, and a lot of things falls under right to life. It is right to education, right to food, right to clean drinking water. All right, right to work freely in a healthy environment. All right, all these things are falling under the right to life. All right. So now, firstly, talking about inequality against women. Okay. So in case like there was this case in Dargesh Mirza versus Air India, where a notification was passed that any lady who is crossed 35 or is pregnant before the age of 35, they will have to retire. All right. So now this was a very arbitrary notification taken out, or arbitrary rule that was taken out by the institution. So which was in direct violation with Article 21, and the courts have very well struck down such notifications which were arbitrary and discriminatory against women. Okay. So firstly, now talking about Article 14, right to equality. Okay. So right to equality means, firstly, it's a right to equality, right to equal opportunity, and right to equal protection before the law. Okay. So now when we talk about right to equality, there might be a question to some people, that if there is a right to equality, then why does women have special reservations? Why do they have special seats reserved to them? Why do have we have special trains for them? Why do we have special compartments for them during traveling? Now this may seem like an arbitrary or discriminatory, or it may appear like inequality to some people, but it falls under the reasonable classification of equality. It is because, it is not expected for a woman who's taking care of the house, who's a homemaker, and it is not expected for a woman to have a more difficult life. All right. So there is a reasonable classification. So for example, if in a race, if one of the participant in the race is having proper shoes and the other one is just barefoot, so in this case it is the law who's providing the other participant with proper opportunity, with proper shoes, or rather giving them a benefit or a privilege, so that these rights, equality, can be maintained properly. All right. So this is falling under reasonable classification, and it is not in any way discriminatory against anybody or any sex or any gender. Okay. So now we also have reservations for women under in government organizations. So now that also is the reasonable classification, and that is not at all discriminatory against anybody. So this is why we have special privileges for 1 second. I'm so sorry. So that is why we have these privileges that have been given for women, so that equality can be maintained, and the fundamental right which have been guaranteed can be given to each and every citizen of India. All right. So now talking about the third gender, that is LGBTQIA. So it means this is an rather an acronym, it is an acronym that have been created, which stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, asexual, and pansexual, etc. All right. So this is what LGBTQIA, which stands for. So as I've already spoken about these fundamental rights which have been guaranteed to us. So unfortunately, for a very, very long time, these rights, in fact, the third gender was not even recognized. All right. So whenever if you go and fill a form, all right, the form asks for a gender, and there were only two options, male or a female. The third gender was basically not at all recognized in institutions. All right. It is just lately in the 2018 that we have had progressive judgments from the courts, and now they have been recognized. All right. So basically, what was the problem earlier with respect to LGBTQIA was one of the provision under the Indian Penal Code. All right. So that provision was kind of discriminatory. It was discriminating. It was violating. That provision was in some sense or to some aspect, it was directly in violation of Article 14, Article 19, Article 21. These three are the pillars of the fundamental rights which have been guaranteed. So as I said, Article 14 is equality before the law, equal opportunity. Article 19 is freedom of speech and expression. And Article 21 is right to life. So if either of them is violated, all right, all of them are violated. Okay. So there was a provision under the Indian Penal Code which talked about unnatural offenses. All right. So that was section 377 of the IPC, which was in direct violation of these fundamental rights guaranteed to us. So the provision, section 377 stated that whoever voluntarily has carnal intercourse against the order of nature with a man, woman, or an animal shall be punished with imprisonment or with imprisonment of either description of a term which may extend up to 10 years and shall also be liable to fine. Okay. So now, if somebody who is belonging to the third category, LGBTQIA, all right, and if they are not able to properly express themselves, all right, so now this is again a violation. So because of this provision which we have, which we had, which is we still have, but it has been decriminalized to some extent. All right, this provision has been decriminalized by the Supreme Court to some extent. So if a person is not able to express themselves as a third gender, all right, because if earlier, before the decriminalization of Section 377, if somebody would express themselves as gay or lesbian or bisexual, they would be under a constant threat, all right, from the law agencies, from the law departments, from the police machinery, because it was not recognized, because it was considered, it was illegal at that time. All right. So it is only in the year 2018 they were they were in fact recognized as the third gender, and anyway they had the right. So once they had the recognition, these rights are automatically following them, and now they can exert these rights. All right, just like in case if your right to life is violated, if your freedom of speech and expression is violated, you can have your redressal before the court. All right. So on an equal footing, pari passu to each other. Now, even if their right to life or right to freedom of speech and expression or right to equality has been violated, now even they have the right that they can approach the court and redress their grievances before the honorable court. All right. So Section 377 was considered violative of Article 21. So as I said, that Article 21 provides that no person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty except according to the procedures established by law. So such procedures which have been established by law should be fair, just, and reasonable. Okay. So when this Article 21 is reading this second part, all right, no person should be deprived of his life and liberty except according to the procedures established by law. So according to the procedures established by law means if somebody is violating somebody else's right to life, then the law will take proper appropriate steps so that the person can be maybe punished or maybe put behind bars or maybe penalized. All right, so that such instances are uh, are not repeated again by that person. So right to life and liberty affords protection to every citizen of India or non-citizen. Okay. So right to life is for the citizens and non-citizens of India, irrespective of their identity or orientation, that is sexual orientation, without discrimination. All right. Now coming on to another right which we all have, that is right to live with dignity. So right to live with dignity is again falling under the right to life, the concept of personal right to life and liberty. So Article 21 so as to it was the in there was this famous case. It's just there on the tip of my tongue, and I cannot recollect. But anyway, so when these rights were not recognized for the third gender, their right to live with dignity was also violated. And they were under a constant fear that someday some or the other thing will happen, or probably they will be exploited if somebody finds out that they belong to the third gender. All right. So they cannot, like they were deprived for at workplaces, they were deprived of education. So when a person is not allowed, or rather to work properly, or if right to education itself is violated, then all these fundamental rights, though they don't stand anywhere for that person. All right. Thirdly, it was also the right to privacy. Okay, so the right to privacy has now been recognized to be as an intrinsic part of the right to life and personal liberty under Article 21. So a sexual orientation of a person is, see, a gender has been assigned to a person by birth. All right, by birth, a gender has been assigned, but their sexual orientation, their mental psyche can be something else. So a person who is a man may feel that he is a woman who's trapped in the body of a man, and vice versa. A woman can feel that she is trapped in a body of a woman. Okay. So sexual orientation is actually an innate part of the identity of the LGBT, that is the third category. So sexual orientation of a person is actually an essential attribute of privacy. So its protection lies at the core of the fundamental rights guaranteed by Article 14, 15, and 21, and also Article 19. So the right to privacy is actually broad-based and pervasive under our constitutional scheme, and it also encompasses the decisional autonomy to cover or intimate personal decisions and to preserve the sanctity of the private spheres of an individual. So the right to privacy is not simply the right to be let alone. All right. So right to privacy is not basically that nobody should disturb you of your right to privacy. All right. It is not only that, but rather the and it has also mean that it is the initial concept of a person's mental equilibrium. So if somebody's right to life is constantly violated, then subsequently the person, his right to life is affected. So Section 377 affects the private spheres of the life of the LGBT person. And the Section 377 also took away the decisional autonomy. Autonomy means a freedom of LGBT person to make their choices consistent with their sexual orientation. Now, when I'm saying personal choices consistent with their sexual orientation, is that in case if they want to be they want to express themselves as a third gender, they should not be forced to express themselves as a man or a woman. All right. So their personal choices should be in consistency, or they should be rather in line with the sexual orientation, which would further be a dignified, so that they can live a dignified existence in a society and can live a meaningful life as a full person. So Section 377 prohibited LGBT persons from expressing their sexual orientation and engaging in any sort of sexual conduct in private or anything of that sort. I'm sorry, my throat is a little bad. So, and as Section 377 was criminalizing LGBT, there was also a threat. There was also the right to proper health was violated. All right. So, because in case if probably if they have some problem with their health, and in case if subsequently if somebody finds out, maybe a medical practitioner or somebody finds out, see, there is always sometimes a trust issue, that what if a person will reveal to somebody that so and so person belongs to the third category. So nobody wants to have legal consequences upon them. Nobody wants the machinery of the state should work against them. So the right to health and access to healthcare are also crucial facets of the right to life guaranteed under Article 21 of the Constitution. So LGBT persons, they being a sexual minority, have been subjected to societal prejudice, discrimination, and violence on account of their sexual orientation. So since Section 377 of the IPC, it criminalized any any sexual conduct against the order of nature. So
Yeah.
it com yes, somebody said something.
Mute.
All right. Okay. So Section 3 So Section 377 criminalized any sort of sexual conduct against the order of nature. So it basically it compelled the LGBT or the third gender persons to lead a very closeted or rather very introvert life. All right. So as a consequence of which LGBT persons were seriously advantaged and prejudiced when it comes to access to healthcare facilities. So when I say prejudice means it's not a preconceived notion here. We are not talking about the preconceived, but prejudice means anything that affects your right of anything. So this actually resulted in serious health issues, including depression and to some extreme extents, even suicidal tendencies amongst members of this community. So LGBT persons are more, specifically and especially the transgenders persons are at a higher risk of contracting something like HIV as they would have lacked safe spaces or rather access to a proper healthcare. So they were also inhibited from seeking medical help for testing, treatment, and supportive care on account of the threat of being exposed and the resultant prosecution. Right. So they would rather prefer to live with some ailment or some disease rather taking a proper healthcare from a practitioner, from a doctor, because there was a risk of it being exposed, and if they were exposed, the consequences were that there were legal actions against that person. So there were higher rates of prevalence of HIV in LGBTQ who are in turn married to other people of the opposite gender, coupled with difficulty in detection and treatment, makes them highly susceptible to contraction and further transmission of the virus. So right to health was also one of the reason, it was decriminalized. Section 377 was decriminalized in 2018. So now, as I said, Section 377 violates the right to freedom of speech and expression of LGBT persons. Now, we will talk about this in little bit detail. So, if you go through the Article 19(1)(a) of the Constitution, it guarantees to you the freedom of expression to all its citizens. So, however, reasonable restrictions can be imposed on the exercise of the right. And you will find these reasonable restrictions under Article 19(2). All right. So LGBT persons express their sexual orientation in several ways. All right. So sometimes if you look at a person, you can figure out that this person is a man or a woman or belonging to a third gender. So one such way of engagement was that they would dress accordingly so that they can express themselves the way they want to be expressed, the way they want to express themselves. So they were rather forced not to disclose the central aspect of their personality. All right. So when somebody is not allowed to express their basic personality or how they feel about their orientation, both the fronts, on the personal front and professional spheres, and also to avoid prosecution in society and the stigma which was attached to homosexuality and the third category. So this was one of the right which was also, so if you see a person's several fundamental rights were being violated by the criminalization of Section 377. All right. So now in 2018, as it was decriminalized. So I'll tell you what was decriminalized. Okay. So Section 377 reads as that whoever voluntarily has any intercourse against the order of nature with any man, woman, or animal. All right. So any sexual conduct or act of a man with a man is now decriminalized. Of a woman with a
बाईला
woman
काम नाही कुठे पण काही
is
कामं
also
तुम्ही करायचं. लिंक लावा
Okay. So any sort of sexual conduct of a man with a man is now decriminalized. Of a woman with a woman is also decriminalized. But there's also this third aspect. Any sexual act with any animal, now that is still criminalized. That is proper and it is still criminalized. So a person can be still convicted under 377 if they are engaging into bestiality or anything of that sort. All right. So it has, in fact, taken a lot of time for the society to recognize these rights of the third gender. And recently, the Supreme Court has Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Was I inaudible in between? Because I think there's something error. Nevertheless, so the reason why we have to now start, because see, these fundamental rights which I spoke about, those rights are guaranteed to you, and those rights will the law will give it all its citizens, irrespective of the gender. All right. So the law has given them proper recognition so that they can exert their fundamental rights. But now it is up to the society. All right. So right now it is the need for not only gender equality will be taken care by the law, but it is now our responsibility towards gender sensitization. All right. It is time that the society should stop discriminating against the third category, or rather looking down upon them, because every citizen has been guaranteed by the constitution with respect to their rights. So now it is our duty. Okay, it is our duty to see to it that these rights, we do not in any way violate these rights of the third gender. Okay, so in fact, there have been developments also. I think a couple of years back, there was the first transgender judge who was appointed in the Indian judiciary. And in fact, even in the year 2018, there was a constable named Lalita Salve, who underwent a sex change operation, and she was also allowed by the police force, and a nod was given by the chief minister, the then chief minister, Mr. Honorable Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis. So she was allowed to subsequently change her gender. Okay, so now if any person who feels that they do not really belong to this gender, or they cannot relate to the gender which have been assigned to them by birth, they always have now an opportunity to have their gender changed, or rather, in simpler terms, sex change operation can be conducted. So there have been many instances where people have come forward and towards expressing themselves with respect to their proper sexual orientation. So just concluding the entire lecture that we have gone through today. So basically, it is just now that the law has done its part. The law has given them rights, has recognized their rights, have now they are allowed to exert their rights just like you and me. All right. So now it is up to us to see to it that there is no gender equality against anybody. There should not be a gender equality against women, no gender equality, even against the person belonging to the third gender. So that is all, and I would like to conclude this lecture. And in case if somebody has any query, can pose their query to me. No, I think it's all clear. There's no queries. Grishma ma'am can take over from here.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Sukla sir, for your valuable and very important information regarding LGBTQIA with appropriate laws and articles, sections. All you have explained so well with appropriate example also. And
Thank you
thank
so much. Thank you.
let's move on to the next speaker. Heroes are those who risk their life every day to protect our world and make it a better place. I introduce our next speaker, Mr. Deepak Dhumalwat, on topic handling the cases of LGBTQIA, who is very energetic, dynamic, and completed BA, DEd in Police Administration at Nashik University. He worked as a police constable for 7 years, then as a sub-inspector of police for 4 years in detection branch. He had secured 50 detection awards in detection branch. At present, working as a police sub-inspector in Kurla Railway Police Station, Mumbai. Sir, I request you to continue the session.
आवाज येतो सर्वांना?
Yes, sir.
नमस्कार. मी PSI धुमालवाड. आता मॅडमनी माझं जे परिचय करून दिलेला आहे, पोलीस सब इन्स्पेक्टर मागील काही दिवसापासून मी कुर्ला रेल्वे पोलीस स्टेशन येथे कार्यरत आहे. सर्वप्रथम मी तुमच्या इन्स्टिट्यूशन म्हणजे तुमच्या कॉलेजचं आभार मानतो की मला जागतिक महिला दिनानिमित्त आपल्या कॉलेज कडून किंवा जे काही महिला दिना आवाज येतोय?
Yes, sir.
हो सर येतोय.
यापूर्वीच बोलणं ऐकायला आलेलं आहे का? नाही. हॅलो
सर मध्ये मध्ये अटकतोय सर आवाज.
हॅलो. नमस्कार, मी पोलीस सब इन्स्पेक्टर. मॅडमने आताच माझा परिचय करून दिलेला आहे. सो मी मागील 3 वर्षापासून मी कुर्ला रेल्वे पोलीस स्टेशन येथे कार्यरत आहे. सो जागतिक महिला दिनानिमित्त आज तुमच्या कॉलेज कडून किंवा इन्स्टिट्यूट कडून हा जो आज वेबिनार कार्यक्रम राबवलेला आहे आणि त्यासाठी यापूर्वीच गेस्ट लेक्चर म्हणून आपले ऍडव्होकेट अक्षय शुक्ला साहेबांनी चांगल्या पद्धतीने माहिती दिली. त्यानंतर आम्हाला बोलण्याची संधी मिळते. त्यासाठी तुमच्या प्रिन्सिपल मॅडम आणि व्हाईस प्रिन्सिपल मॅडम यांचे आभार. खरं तर जागतिक महिला दिन हे 8 मार्च रोजी होतं, तरी तुमचे काहीतरी कॉलेज एक्झाम्स असल्या कारणाने किंवा इतर काही कारण असतील त्यामुळे आज रोजी तो योग आलेला आहे. सर्वप्रथम आयुष्याच्या प्रत्येक वळणावर वाटेवर प्रत्येक महिला एक आई, बहीण, पत्नी तसेच एक लेकीची भूमिका साकारून तसेच तमाम माझ्या महिला विद्यार्थी भगिनींना सर्वप्रथम महिला दिनाच्या हार्दिक शुभेच्छा. सर्वप्रथम मी मुलींना आता आपला विषय आहे LGBT. यापूर्वीच अक्षय सरांनी बऱ्यापैकी LGBT बद्दल खूप काय सांगितलेलं आहे. जे काही कायदेशीर प्रक्रिया आहेत किंवा ज्याबद्दल जे काही जजमेंट्स आहेत, जे काही कोर्टाचे निर्णय आहेत, त्यात बऱ्यापैकी त्यांनी माहिती दिलेली आहे. भरपूर त्यांनी पूर्णपणे म्हणजे अक्षरशः भारतीय राज्यघटना कलम 12 ते कलम 35 दरम्यान सर्व प्रकारे चांगली माहिती दिली. त्याबद्दल धन्यवाद. मी आता थोडा LGBT हा थोडा विषय बाजूला ठेवून मी एक आजचा आपला मूळ विषय आहे महिला दिन. खर तर महिला महिला म्हणून आपण जगत असताना, महिला म्हणून आपण वावरत असताना आपण कितपत या समाजामध्ये किंवा या देशामध्ये किंवा दररोजच्या कामामध्ये आपण कितपत सुरक्षित आहोत, सिक्युअर आहोत, यासाठी आपण जगत असताना प्रत्येक वळणावर, प्रत्येक म्हणजे वाटेवर, प्रत्येक ठिकाणी काटे आहेत. त्या काठ्यांना आपण चालत असताना, जगत असताना कशा प्रकारे आपण वागलं पाहिजे त्याबद्दल तर थोडंफार मी बोलेन. आता मी नेहमी बघत असतो की महिलांवर अनेक अन्याय, अत्याचार हे अगदी पूर्वीपासून म्हणजे रामायण, महाभारतापासून अन्याय, अत्याचार होत आलेले आहेत. अगदी म्हणजे रामायणाचं उदाहरण घेतलं तर तुम्ही पूर्ण म्हणजे सीतेला सुद्धा अग्निपरीक्षा द्यावी लागली. सॉरी, अग्निपरीक्षा त्यांना ते द्यावी लागली. महाभारतात घ्यायचं म्हटलं तर द्रौपदीला सुद्धा एक दुशासनाचा एक मोठा अपमान सहन करावा लागला. तसंच आज आपण भारतीय महिला म्हणून किंवा एक चांगल्या एक महाराष्ट्रात राहणाऱ्या एक सुशिक्षित महिला म्हणून जर जगत असलो तर आपल्याला अनेक अडचणी किंवा आपल्यावर होणारे नकळत होणारे अन्यायांना सुद्धा आपल्याला वारंवार सामोरे जावं लागतं. तसेच महिलांसाठी अनेक कायदे किंवा महिला विरुद्ध होणारे गुन्हे जेवढे काही आहेत त्यासाठी आपल्या भारतामध्ये, महाराष्ट्रामध्ये वेगवेगळ्या जसं आपल्याला कायद्यांची गरज लागली त्याप्रमाणे आपण कायदे बनवत गेलो. त्या कायद्यानुसार आपण ते कायद्याचे इम्प्लिमेंट करत आलेलो आहोत. त्यानुसार आपण आज आज बघता आपल्या महिलांविषयी किंवा महिला विरोधी जे काही गुन्हे होतात त्याच्यामध्ये महत्वाचे कायदा म्हणजे तर आता शुक्ला साहेबांनी जे एक सांगितलं होतं की भारतीय राज्यघटना, की आपला सर्वोच्च कायदा म्हणजे भारतीय संविधान म्हणजे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया. त्यानंतर इंडियन पिनल कोड की ज्याला म्हणतो भारतीय दंडविधान. भारतीय दंडविधानामध्ये महिलांविषयी किंवा महिलांविरोधी होणारे कायद्यामध्ये महिलांविरोधी होणारे असे अनेक गुन्हे दिलेले आहेत. त्यामध्ये सर्वप्रथम मी एक गुन्हे आणि जसं तुम्हाला म्हणजे रेग्युलर तुमच्या एक लाईफ मध्ये तुमच्या नकळत होणारे तुमच्या विरोधात अनेक गुन्हे असतात की जे आपल्याला दिसून येत नाहीत, परंतु ते आपल्यावर गुन्हे होत असतात, परंतु आपण ते आपली सामाजिक जबाबदारी म्हणा की कौटुंबिक जबाबदारी म्हणा यामुळे आपण त्या पुढे येऊ शकत नाही किंवा आपण ते बोलून दाखवू शकत नाही. सर्वप्रथम मी एक आता मूल किंवा मुलगी, एक महिला, ती जन्मापासून म्हणजेच ती जेव्हा पोटात आहे तिथपासून तिच्यासाठी कायदे बनलेले आहेत की जसं तुम्ही जी पोटात असतानाच मुलगी नको की मुलगा हवंय किंवा मुली जर समजा ते काय सोनोग्राफी वगैरे करून चेक करून जर मुलगी असेल तर ते आपण नकोसं वाटतं आपल्याला, ते मग मुली नको. त्याच्यानंतर तो पण एक गुन्हाच आहे. त्यानंतर एक मुलीचं शिक्षण, जसं साहेबांनी आता सांगितलं की भारतीय संविधानामध्ये कलम 12 ते कलम 35 पर्यंत आपल्याला एक मूलभूत अधिकार दिलेले आहेत भाग 3 मध्ये. त्याच्यामध्ये तुम्हाला कायद्यापुढे समानतेचा हक्क आहे, जगण्याचा हक्क आहे, शिक्षणाचा हक्क आहे. कलम 21A मध्ये वय वर्ष 7 ते वय वर्ष 14 पर्यंत म्हणजे म्हणजे फ्री शिक्षण म्हणजे मोफत शिक्षण सर्वांसाठी दिलेलं आहे. त्यानंतर आलं एक मुलीचं एक प्रौढ वय, एक वय येतं प्रौढ वयामध्ये, तेव्हा तिच्या नकळत आपल्या नातेवाईकाकडून किंवा आपल्या घरच्यांकडून अनेक वेगवेगळ्या प्रकारचे अत्याचार होत असतात, पण ते आपल्याला दिसून येत नाहीत किंवा आपल्या एक घरची जबाबदारी किंवा कुटुंबाची जबाबदारी किंवा एक आपण समाजाला घाबरून त्या गोष्टी आपण सामोरे आणत नाहीत. जसे की त्यामुळे एक लहान मुलावरती बरेच अन्याय अत्याचार होतात. त्यासाठी एक पोक्सो कायदा 2012चा आहे की प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ चाइल्ड फ्रॉम सेक्शुअल ऑफेन्सेस 2012 की लहान मुलाचे लैंगिक शोषणापासून संरक्षण अधिनियम 2012. त्याच्यामध्ये लहान मूल की ज्याला फक्त त्याचं वय असतं लहान मुलांचं खेळण्याचं, बागडण्याचं, खाण्याचं, पिण्याचं, शिक्षण घेण्याचं, की अशा वयात सुद्धा काही मुलींना काही सेक्शुअल ऑफेन्सेसला बळी पडावे लागतात, की जे बळी पडून सुद्धा ते कुणाला सांगू शकत नाहीत किंवा ते त्या गोष्टीला ते कुठे वाचा पडू शकत नाही. पण त्याच्यामध्ये शक्यतो गुन्हेगार म्हणजे गुन्हेगार कोण असतात, तर एक आपले जवळचे नातेवाईक. आता मी बरेच आमच्या पोलीस स्टेशनच्या केसेसमध्ये बघत असतो, की आयपीसी सेक्शन 376 म्हणजे ज्याला आपण बलात्कार म्हणतो रेप, त्याच्यामध्ये हे आता खूप अमानवीय घटना असतात खूप. आता ऍक्च्युअली सांगू नये, पण हा विषय हा मुद्दा आजचा आपला आहे, तर त्यावर बोलतो की बऱ्याच ठिकाणी लहान मुलं असतात. आता ह्या घटना आता ह्या लॉकडाऊनच्या काळामध्ये बऱ्यापैकी घडलेल्या आहेत आणि सामोरे पण आलेले आहेत. लहान मुलं असतात, ते कोणाला तरी आपले काका, मामा किंवा आजोबा म्हणून खूप आपण त्यांना जवळ करतो किंवा ते आपल्यावर पूर्णपणे विश्वास ठेवून आपल्या जवळ येत असतात. सुरुवात इथूनच होते, की त्या लहान मुलांना हे काय घडतं त्यांना त्याची कल्पना नसते. परंतु त्यांच्या बाबतीत की त्यांच्या विरोधात बरेच असे काही घटना किंवा असे काही गुन्हे घडतात, की ते स्वतःहून घाबरून कोणाला सांगू शकत नाहीत किंवा आई-वडिलांना जरी कळलं किंवा सांगितलं, तरी ते एक समाजात एक नाव खराब होईल या किंवा आपल्या पुढे चालून मुलीचं किंवा मुलाचं ह्या गोष्टीत लग्न, ह्या सगळ्या गोष्टी होत असतात. त्यामुळे त्या गोष्टींना सामोरे जात नाहीत. परंतु इथे एक तसं पाहायला गेलं तर सॉरी, पोक्सो कायदा जो आहे, पोक्सो कायद्यान्वये खूप मोठा एक ह्या प्रकारचे गुन्हे होत असतात. परंतु आपण ते सामोरं येऊन त्या गोष्टी करायला पाहिजेत आणि जेव्हा पोक्सो ऍक्ट असेल किंवा 376 असेल, ह्या जेव्हा महिला विरोधी काही गुन्हे असतात, त्या गुन्ह्यांना
मॅडम
पोलीस
तुम्हाला
स्टेशनला एक
दाखवायचं
जास्तीत
तुम्हाला मी
जास्त प्राधान्य दिलेला असतो. हा दुसरा विषय असा की आज आपला भारत देश हा विकसनशील देश आहे. त्यामध्ये पाश्चात्य जेवढे कुठले कंट्रीज आहेत, देश आहेत, ते आपल्यापेक्षा खूप प्रगत आहेत. त्या प्रगत देशाकडून आपण बरंच काही शिकलेलो आहोत. तंत्रज्ञान म्हणा किंवा चांगल्या चांगल्या गोष्टी, शिक्षण. त्यामध्ये जेव्हा आपण प्रगतीच्या मार्गावर आहोत, प्रगतीच्या पथावर आहोत, तेव्हा आपण प्रगती करत असताना किंवा कुठल्याही असो, शिक्षणात असो किंवा तंत्रज्ञानात म्हणजे टेक्नॉलॉजीमध्ये असो किंवा तुमच्या एक आर्थिक असो किंवा राजकीय, प्रत्येक याच्यामध्ये आपण वेगवेगळ्या पद्धतीने जे आपण विकास करतो, त्याच्यामध्ये एक आड येतो ते आपला एक महिला म्हणून जगताना एक महिलांसाठी एक एक दुय्यम स्थान, एक महिलांसाठी दुय्यम स्थान. पण तो डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकरांनी लिखित डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब सॉरी भारतीय राज्यघटना याच्यामध्ये मगाशी सांगितल्याप्रमाणे शुक्ला साहेबांनी की मूलभूत अधिकार, तुम्हाला जे मूलभूत अधिकार दिलेले आहेत त्यानुसार प्रत्येकाला समानतेचा म्हणजे कलम 14 कायद्यापुढे सर्वांना समानता. त्यामध्ये सगळ्या गोष्टीची तुम्हाला इक्वॅलिटी आहे, शिक्षणाची आहे, चालण्याची आहे, बोलण्याचे स्वातंत्र्य आहे किंवा शिक्षणामध्ये तुम्ही पुरुषाच्या आता जो म्हणता की आज महिला कुठल्याही बाबतीत कुठल्याही क्षेत्रात पाठीमागे नाही, की पुरुषाच्या खांद्याला खांदा लावून काम करते. तसंच करत असताना एक शिक्षण क्षेत्रात घ्या, राजकीय क्षेत्रात घ्या किंवा एक त्या टेक्नॉलॉजीच्या क्षेत्रात घ्या किंवा कुठल्याही कमर्शियल क्षेत्रात घ्या. ह्या प्रत्येक ठिकाणी काम करत असताना त्या नकळत महिलांच्या बाबतीत गुन्हे घडत असतात. आता समजा एखाद्या शैक्षणिक भाग असेल किंवा एखाद्या ऑफिसमध्ये काम करणारी महिला असेल, तिला काम करण्यासाठी किंवा त्या ठिकाणी पोहोचण्यासाठी घरातून तिथपर्यंत पोहोचण्यासाठी तिला घरातून बाहेर निघावंच लागेल. निघल्यानंतर तिला तो प्रवास आला. प्रवासादरम्यान अनेक गुन्हे घडत असतात. त्याच्यामध्ये ऑफिसमध्ये गेल्यानंतर ऑफिसमध्ये सुद्धा बरेच कामाच्या ठिकाणी सुद्धा कळत नकळत एक वरिष्ठांकडून किंवा आपल्या सोबतच्या मित्राकडून, मैत्रिणीकडून म्हणजे कामाच्या ठिकाणी सुद्धा महिलांची एक लैंगिक छळवणूक होते. त्यानुसार त्यासाठी कामाच्या ठिकाणी सुद्धा लैंगिक छळवणूक करण्यास प्रतिबंध अधिनियम 2013 हा सुद्धा कायदा अंमलात आलेला आहे. तो आता जो त्याचा इम्प्लिमेंटेशन सुद्धा होत असतो. तरी जसं तुम्हाला आता सांगितलंय की आजचा विषय महिला दिनाचा पण आहे आणि एलजीबीटीचा तो थोडाफार आहे, त्यावर मी जास्त बोलणार नाही. पण त्याचे 1-2-3 तुम्हाला उदाहरण देईन, की जसं समजा आता तुम्ही कामासाठी असो किंवा शिक्षणासाठी असो किंवा नोकरीसाठी जेव्हा तुम्ही घर सोडणार, घरातून निघल्यापासून महिलांनी स्वतःची काळजी किंवा स्वतःची सुरक्षितता स्वतःच करायला पाहिजे. प्रत्येक ठिकाणी पोलीस असतात. एखादी घटना घडल्यानंतरच पोलिसांना त्याची खबर मिळते, तेव्हाच तिथे पोलीस येणार किंवा पुढच्या गोष्टीचं जे काय असेल तपास ह्या सगळ्या गोष्टी होत राहणार. परंतु जेव्हा आपण स्वतः घरातून निघतो, आपण स्वतः कितपत सिक्युर आहोत किंवा आपण स्वतःसाठी किती स्वतः तेवढी म्हणजे काळजी घेऊन वागायला पाहिजे. जसे की तुम्ही घरातून निघलात, समजा गळ्यामध्ये दागिने घालता. गळ्यात दागिने घातल्यानंतर सुद्धा तेवढ्या तुम्हाला जरी तुमची वस्तू असेल, जरी तुमची मौल्यवान वस्तू असली, तरी त्याच्यासाठी तुम्हाला खूप जपून राहावं लागेल. कारण रस्त्यानं चालत असताना चेन स्नॅचिंग, रॉबरी अशा बऱ्याच घटना घडत असतात. शेवटी ते तुमची प्रॉपर्टीच्या अगेन्स्ट क्राईम होत असतात. त्याच्यानंतर तुम्ही आता बहुतेक महिला मुंबईत असतात. रेल्वेने प्रवास केल्याशिवाय बहुतेक महिला मुंबईत आहेत, की ज्यांना दररोज रेल्वेने प्रवास करावा लागतो. कारण आता सध्या माझी पोस्टिंग रेल्वेमध्ये म्हणजे GRP गव्हर्नमेंट रेल्वे पोलीस अंतर्गत सध्या माझी पोस्टिंग आहे. त्यामुळे मला रेल्वेचा बऱ्यापैकी चांगला अनुभव आहे. रेल्वेमध्ये प्रत्येक टप्प्याला गुन्हेगार आहेत. प्रत्येक टप्प्याला. प्रत्येक जागेवर गुन्हेगार आहेत रेल्वेमध्ये. म्हणजे असं समजा, की जेव्हा मला म्हणजे लहान असताना मी जेव्हा म्हणायचो, की मला पोलीस व्हायचंय, तर पोलीस का व्हायचे? तर मी चोरांना पकडण्यासाठी. म्हणजे गुन्हेगार हा प्रत्येक चोर नसतो. हा गुन्हेगार असतो. म्हणजे गुन्हेगाराचे प्रत्येक वेगवेगळे प्रकारचे गुन्हेगार असतात. परंतु आता मी रेल्वेत आल्यापासून गुन्हेगार म्हणजे हा फक्त चोरच भेटतात. रेल्वेमध्ये प्रत्येक ठिकाणी चोर आहेत. तुम्ही रेल्वेतून जेव्हा प्रवास करत असाल किंवा आता रेल्वेमध्ये बऱ्यापैकी गर्दी असते. गर्दीमध्ये आता या ठिकाणी थोडा लेस्बियनचा पण विषय येतो आणि गेचा पण विषय येईल. मी ते तुम्हाला पुढे एक्सप्लेन करेन. रेल्वेमधून प्रवास करत असताना विशेष करून महिला, कारण पुरुषांकडे काय फार मोबाईल किंवा छोटंफार वॉलेट किंवा थोडेफार पैसे असतील. त्या व्यतिरिक्त पुरुषांकडे काही जास्त नसतं, म्हणजे काही सामान नसतं. पण महिलांकडे बहुतेक त्याच्या हँडबॅग म्हणा, पर्स म्हणा किंवा दागिने महिलांकडे जास्त प्रमाणात पैसे वगैरे बऱ्यापैकी असतात. शक्यतो काही महिला हुशार असतात. गळ्यात दागिने न घालता आपले ते एक छोट्याशा पाऊचमध्ये टाकून आपल्या पर्समध्ये वगैरे ठेवलेले असतात. आणि गर्दी रेल्वेमध्ये एवढी गर्दी असते, की आपल्याला कळत सुद्धा नाही, की आपल्याला म्हणजे धक्काबुक्की होत असते. काही महिला मुद्दाम त्यांचे काही महिलांचा ग्रुप असतो. चोरांचा पण एक ग्रुप असतो, की त्या स्वतःहून भांडण चालू करणार ट्रेनमध्ये. म्हणजे स्वतःहून काही महिलांचं रेल्वेमध्ये भांडण तुम्हाला माहितीच असेल, की सुरुवात थोडीफार इंग्लिशपासून होते. खूप म्हणजे इंग्लिशपासून होऊन पूर्ण मराठीत येऊन पूर्ण एकमेकांची केस अक्षरशः एकमेकांच्या हातात घेऊन इथपर्यंत भांडणं होतात. परंतु काही भांडणं अशी असतात, की स्वतःहून ते लोकं करतात, की जेणेकरून सर्व महिलांचे कॉन्सन्ट्रेशन किंवा पूर्ण लक्ष त्या महिलाकडे जाईल. किंवा काही महिला अशा असतात, की तुमच्या पर्सची चेन खोलून तुमच्या जे छोटी बॅग असते ती घेऊन जातील. त्याच्यामध्ये तुमचे दागिने असे आमच्याकडे दररोज आता माझं ज्युरिडिक्शन कुर्ला ते मुलुंड जवळ-जवळ 7 ते 8 रेल्वे स्टेशन आणि LTT लोकमान्य टिळक टर्मिनस अशा एवढं मोठं ज्युरिडिक्शन आहे. त्याच्यामध्ये जास्तीत जास्त महिलांचे गुन्हे होत असतात. त्याच्यामध्ये दागिने, मोबाईल म्हणजे एखादा पुरुष गुन्हा दाखल करायला आला असेल तर त्याचं खूप कमी म्हणजे फार मोबाईल किंवा वॉलेट 1,000-4,000 एवढं पण म्हणजे चोरीला जात असतं. पण तेच महिलांच्या बाबतीत झालं तर गुन्हा दाखल करायला सुद्धा आम्हाला टेन्शन येतं, की एवढ्या म्हणजे दागिने 2 तोळे, 4 तोळे, 5 तोळे अशा प्रकारे त्याचे गुन्हे होत असतात. तसेच आता महिलांच्या याच्यामध्ये आता लेस्बियन, LGBTचा हा विषय होता. माझ्यापेक्षा आता शुक्ला साहेबांनी बऱ्यापैकी सांगितलेलं आहे त्याच्यावर तुम्ही जास्त बोलायला नको. इव्हन त्यांनी कायदेशीर सगळ्या 377 IPC 377 चे जे काही डिस्क्रिमिनेशन झालेलं आहे 2018 मध्ये ते सगळं सांगितलेलं आहे त्यांनी. आता लेस्बियन, गे आणि बायसेक्शुअल आणि ट्रान्सजेंडर हा विषय तसं पाहायला गेलं तर आपल्याकडे खूप त्याचं प्रमाण कमी आहे. हा विषय जास्तीत जास्त जे पाश्चात्य देश आहेत म्हणजे वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज तिकडे जे प्रगतशील देश आहेत त्यांच्यामध्ये बहुतेक म्हणजे त्याचे जे आता लेस्बियन हा काय मोठा म्हणजे वेगळा विषय नाही. लेस्बियन म्हणजे जी महिला जे जे काही महिला असतात त्यांचं फक्त एक त्यांचे एक आकर्षण किंवा एक आवड जी आवड असते किंवा आकर्षण असते ते एक फक्त महिलांचे एक विषय असते की बाबा समजा आता लेस्बियनचा विषय आता साहेबांनी सांगितलेला आहे, परंतु आता हे जे विषय येतात जे काही केसेस येतात ते आम्ही कसं हँडल करतो शक्यतो ह्या खूप कमी प्रमाणात म्हणजे नाही म्हटलं तरी चालेल, पण पोलीस स्टेशन पण कधी कधी हा विषय येतो की आता समजा रेल्वेमध्ये तुम्ही प्रवास करता, आता लेस्बियन साठी महिलांची गर्दी लेस्बियन आणि महिलांची गर्दी एक ह्या गोष्टीसाठी खूप त्यांना एक अनुकूल विषय असतो, अनुकूल परिस्थिती असते की समजा रेल्वेमध्ये गर्दी असते. काही लेडीजला असं असतं की आता तो लेस्बियन असतात, आता त्याला त्यांची एक मानसिकता असते. तेव्हा ते काय वेगळं लेस्बियन आहेत म्हणून काय त्यांचं काही शारीरिक रचना किंवा काही वेगळी नसते, सारखीच असते. त्यामुळे ते काही गोष्टी ओळखून पडत नाही. परंतु आता एक मानसिकता अशी असते की गर्दीमध्ये जाणे किंवा एकमेकांना स्पर्श करणे किंवा आता ह्या गोष्टी समजून येत नाहीत. परंतु एक मानसिकदृष्ट्या पाहायला गेलं तर त्या लेस्बियनला एक वेगळाच त्याच्यातून एक आनंद मिळत असतो. पण काही महिलांना ह्या गोष्टी जाणून म्हणजे तुम्ही रेग्युलर एक कोणाला स्पर्श करसाल, त्या व्यतिरिक्त जर तुम्ही वेगळं स्पर्श केला तर ते तुम्हाला लगेच जाणवतं. तसंच आहे गेचा विषय. आता गेचा विषय तर भरपूर प्रमाणात मुंबईमध्ये आहे. पर्टिक्युलरली रेल्वेमध्ये काही गाड्या म्हणजे लोकल ज्या आहेत, गर्दीच्या लोकल म्हणजे ट्रेन आणि पर्टिक्युलर ट्रेन जे आहेत आणि पर्टिक्युलर त्याच्यात काही डब्बे पण असतात कोच, की त्याच्यामध्ये किमान 10% हे गेज असतात. गेज की त्यांचं म्हणजे त्यांना हे गे असो किंवा लेस्बियन असो हे एक खूप वेगळा विषय आहे, की आपल्या जरी आता साहेबांनी सांगितलं, की यांना एक स्वातंत्र्य आहे, प्रत्येकाला आपण अभिव्यक्ती स्वातंत्र्य आहे, सगळ्या जर गोष्टी असल्या, तर एक आपल्या एक भारतीय समाजात म्हणा किंवा आपल्या एक सोशल सोसायटीमध्ये ह्या गोष्टी एक लगेच ऍक्सेप्ट करणं किंवा या गोष्टीला मान्यता देणं हे एवढं सहजासहजी नाही. जरी कायदेशीर ह्याला मान्यता जरी असेल, तरी ह्या गोष्टी लगेच हे करणं किंवा आपण त्याच्यासाठी काय म्हणतो तयार होणं शक्य नाहीये. जसे आता रेल्वेमध्ये ह्या गोष्टीचा अनुभव प्रत्येकाला येतात. मला स्वतः आलेला आहे आणि गेजचा विषय तर नेहमी म्हणजे गेजचा विषय नेहमी पोलीस स्टेशन पर्यंत येतो. लेस्बियनचा खूप कमी प्रमाणात म्हणजे खूप कधीतरी आला तर आला. नाहीतर गेज हा विषय दररोज असतो. आता समजा पुरुषांच्या डब्यामध्ये ट्रेनमध्ये खूप गर्दी असते आणि तोच एक वेळ असतो त्यांना म्हणजे एक मानसिक विकृती म्हणलं तरी चालेल, की मध्ये असं असते की पुरुषांच्या डब्यात घुसल्यानंतर त्यांना एखाद्या समोरच्या किंवा एखादा फर्स्ट क्लासचा जर गे असला म्हणजे एक इसम असला तरी तो फर्स्ट क्लासमध्ये जाणार नाही. जिथे गर्दी कमी आहे तिथे जाणार नाही. जिथे गर्दी जास्त आहे, ज्या गर्दीत तो घुसणार आणि अनवॉन्टेड टचेस किंवा कळत नकळत त्याला एक तेवढ्यापुरतं एक शारीरिक मानसिक त्याला एक सुख मिळतं. त्याच्यामध्ये ते अनवॉन्टेड टचेस करत असताना काही लोकांना ते जाणवल्यानंतर त्यांच्यामध्ये हाणामारी तर मारामारी होऊन ते पोलीस स्टेशन पर्यंत हा विषय आल्यानंतर तर परत आल्यानंतर एकमेकावर गुन्हे दाखल करणे किंवा आता बहुतेक तिथपर्यंत पोलीस स्टेशनला आल्यानंतर शक्यतो प्रत्येकामध्ये एक म्हणजे एक एनर्जी असते, गरमी असते, की मी पोलीस स्टेशनला जाईन, तुझ्यावर गुन्हा दाखल करेन. पण पोलीस स्टेशनला आल्यानंतर तिथपर्यंत बऱ्यापैकी थंड होतात, की जेव्हा हा विषय असतो, की बाबा माझ्याबद्दल असं काही आणि हा करत होता. परंतु हा स्वतः त्या पद्धतीने कंप्लेंट द्यायला स्वतः पण तयार होत नाही किंवा जो गे आहे तो पण म्हणजे ऍक्सेप्ट करायला तयार होत नाही, की मी हे असं काही मी स्वतः गे आहे किंवा मी असं काही केलेलं. म्हणजे बहुतेक गेचा विषय असेच केसेस येत असतात, परंतु कोणीही कुठलेही गुन्हे दाखल बहुतेक होत नाही. त्याच्यानंतर राहिला सगळ्यात तिसरा विषय ट्रान्सजेंडरचा. आता ट्रान्सजेंडर हा विषय तर मुंबईमध्ये तर बहुतेक ठिकाणी आणि बऱ्यापैकी जास्त प्रमाणात आहे. आणि रेल्वेमध्ये तर खूपच आहे. आता ट्रान्सजेंडर आता जे काही ट्रान्सजेंडर जे आहेत जन्मत आहेत, काही ट्रान्सजेंडर जे स्वतःहून नंतर स्वतःला चेंजेस करून घेतलेले आहेत, किंवा काही ट्रान्सजेंडर असे पण आहेत की जे पूर्णपणे मेल आहेत, पूर्णपणे मेल, की जे कुठलेही कामधंदा करू शकत नाही, ज्यांच्यात काम करण्याची प्रवृत्ती नाही, पैसे कमवण्याचे कुठले सोर्सेस नाहीत. त्या म्हणून काही मेल स्वतःला ट्रान्सजेंडर सारखे म्हणजे मेकअप करून किंवा साड्या वगैरे ते घालून बऱ्यापैकी म्हणजे मुंबईमध्ये तर किमान 50% त्यांचं प्रमाण आहे. त्याच्यामध्ये असं भीक मागून दिवसभरातून 50 किंवा 100 रुपये कमवण्यापेक्षा थोडंफार वेषांतर करून किंवा त्या ट्रान्सजेंडरच्या टोळीमध्ये राहून त्यांच्यासारखं बोलणं, वागणं, असं वागून त्यांच्यातून त्यांचे उत्पन्न जास्त प्रमाणात होत असते. आणि बहुतेक ट्रान्सजेंडर हे 50% माझा तर अनुभव असा आहे की बहुतेक 50% ट्रान्सजेंडर हे डुप्लिकेट्स आहेत. परंतु जे ओरिजिनल जे ट्रान्सजेंडर आहेत, जे जन्मापासून ट्रान्सजेंडर आहेत. आता आपल्याकडे एक जो आपण म्हणतो ना सेक्स मेल आणि फिमेल, म्हणजे जे हेटेरोसेक्स आहे, मेल आणि फिमेल, जे होमोसेक्सुअल आहेत, जे सगळे होमोसेक्सुअल मध्ये येतात, समलैंगिक. समलैंगिक आपल्या भारतीय याच्यामध्ये म्हणा, समाजात म्हणा, किंवा आपण जरी किती शिकलेलो असलो, तरी किती प्रगल्भ असलो, तरी एक आपली पण मानसिकता त्यात म्हणजे त्या गोष्टींना, त्या विचारांना परमिशन देत. आता ट्रान्सजेंडर हा विषय जन्मापासून असलं तरीही, पण त्यांना आपला एक समाज ऍक्सेप्ट करत नाही, किंवा एक फॅमिली म्हणून त्यांना ऍक्सेप्ट करत नाही. किंवा आता तुम्ही बघा, बहुतेक गावामध्ये ट्रान्सजेंडरची ही संख्या खूप कमी आहे, म्हणजे खेड्यांमध्ये. परंतु हे ट्रान्सजेंडर खेड्यामध्ये किंवा गावामध्ये किंवा आपल्या फॅमिलीमध्ये ते स्वतःला सेक्युअर फील करत नाही, म्हणजे ते सुरक्षित त्यांना वाटत नाही, कारण त्यांना प्रत्येक ठिकाणी अपमानित केलं जातं. म्हणून ते एखाद्या मोठ्या शहरामध्ये किंवा मोठ्या ठिकाणी जाऊन ते आपल्या फॅमिलीपासून, आपल्या कुटुंबापासून अलिप्त एखाद्या टोळ्यांमध्ये किंवा त्यांचा एक ग्रुप असतो, त्या ग्रुपप्रमाणे राहतात. त्याच्यामध्ये त्यांना ट्रान्सजेंडर्सला कुठे कामाच्या ठिकाणी म्हणजे नोकरीला लावलं जात नाही, किंवा जरी एखाद्या बिझनेस मध्ये असेल, त्यांचा बिझनेस वाढण्यासाठी किंवा समजा एक उदाहरण घ्या, एखादं ट्रान्सजेंडर दुकान टाकलं असेल किंवा एखादा व्यापार करत असेल, ते तेवढं आपण त्यांच्याकडे म्हणजे आपण त्यांना आपण त्यांना तेवढं साथ देऊ शकत नाही. आता ट्रान्सजेंडरचा विषय असा की बहुतेक रेल्वेमध्ये ट्रान्सजेंडर भीक मागूनच आपला उपजीविका ते उदरनिर्वाह करत असतात. त्याच्यामध्ये ट्रान्सजेंडर नेहमी पैसे मागत असताना शक्यतो बहुतेक लोक त्यांना देत असतात. काही ट्रान्सजेंडर मारामाऱ्या करून इतपत सुद्धा ते म्हणजे त्यांच्याकडून पैसे काढण्याची त्यांची एक मानसिकता असते. आता बरेच वेळेस आमच्या पोलीस स्टेशनला ट्रान्सजेंडर्स किंवा त्यांच्या आपसामध्ये भांडणं किंवा पब्लिक सोबत भांडण करून अक्षरशः एकमेकांचे कपडे फाडून पोलीस स्टेशनला येतात. त्यांच्यावर कारवाई करणं सुद्धा एवढी सोपी गोष्ट नाही, की म्हणजे जरी एखाद्या ट्रान्सजेंडरने एखाद्याला मारला असेल, एखाद्याचं डोकंही फोडलं असेल, किंवा एखाद्याला ते शक्यतो चावा घेतात, एखाद्याला चावून अक्षरशः हात फोडून काढतात, किंवा गाल वगैरे असं गालाचे लचके होतात. जरी समोरच्याची कंप्लेंट असली तरी आपण एखाद्याचं तक्रार असेल तर आपण तक्रार घेतलो तरी त्याला अरेस्ट करण्यापासून किंवा मेडिकल ह्या गोष्टी सगळ्या खूप म्हणजे किचकट असतात. म्हणजे ट्रान्सजेंडर म्हणजे पोलीस स्टेशनला आल्यानंतर त्यांच्या विरोधात कारवाई करायची म्हटल्यावर अक्षरशः त्यांचं एक पूर्ण ग्रुप, त्यांचे टोळी जवळजवळ 100-150 एवढे लोक म्हणजे ट्रान्सजेंडर तिथे पोलीस स्टेशन समोर तमाशा करत असतात. आता त्यांचा तमाशा म्हणजे तुम्हाला बहुतेक आता माहित असेल, सांगायला नको, की त्यांचे केसेस हँडल करत असताना खूप खूप त्रासदायक असतं. की एखादं सिरियस ऑफेन्स जरी केलं तर त्यांना ट्रान्सजेंडरला अरेस्ट करून किंवा त्याला हँडल करणं आणि त्याला कोर्टासमोर प्रोड्यूस करणं, तिथपर्यंत एक खूप जिकरीचं काम असतं. इव्हन लास्ट टाइम मी अंधेरी पोलीस स्टेशनला असताना एक सकाळी सकाळी जे मोटरमॅन असतात, सकाळी सकाळी ट्रेन चालवण्यासाठी जेव्हा जातात मोटरमॅन, जात असताना अंधेरी रेल्वे स्टेशनच्या खाली ब्रिज खाली जात असताना एक ट्रान्सजेंडरनी मोटरमॅनला अडवून त्याला रॉबरी म्हणजे त्या मोटरमॅनचे मोबाईल आणि पैसे वगैरे आज काढून घेतलेले. त्याच्यामध्ये आपण त्या ट्रान्सजेंडरला आपण आयडेंटिफाय करून त्या गुन्हा दाखल केले. गुन्हा दाखल करून त्या ट्रान्सजेंडरला अरेस्ट पण केल्यानंतर सर्व किंवा त्यांच्या ट्रान्सजेंडरच्या जे त्यांच्या असतात गुरु त्यांना जेव्हा समजली, अक्षरशः जवळजवळ 50 ते 60 ट्रान्सजेंडर माझ्या पोलीस स्टेशनच्या समोर येऊन अक्षरशः अर्धनग्न किंवा नग्न स्वरूपामध्ये डान्स किंवा त्यांच्या वेगवेगळ्या अश्लील भाषेतून शिव्या देत म्हणजे थोडक्यात मोर्चा त्यांनी पोलीस स्टेशन आणला होता. आता ती सिच्युएशन हँडल करत असताना एक पुरुष म्हणून सुद्धा त्यांना हात लावणे किंवा एक स्त्री म्हणून त्यांना हात लावणे किंवा त्यांना त्या मोर्चांना सांभाळणं किंवा त्यांना हँडल करणं या खूप गोष्टी थोडं अवघड जात असतात, किचकट जात असतात. तरी आता पुढे इंटरसेक्शुअल किंवा क्वेअर ह्या सगळ्या गोष्टी तो यातला सगळा एकच भाग आहे की LGBT हा विषय तसा आज तुम्ही महिला दिनानिमित्त हा विषय जरी तुम्ही घेतलेला असेल तरी भविष्यामध्ये तुम्ही सगळे स्टाफ नर्स म्हणून कुठेतरी कामाला असणार किंवा हॉस्पिटल्स मध्ये असणार, ह्या गोष्टी तुम्हाला नक्कीच तुमच्या अनुभवाला येणार आहेत भविष्यामध्ये. तरी आज आपण थोडं अजून परत महिला दिनाकडे महिलांच्या बाबतीत आपण वळूया. आपल्याकडे आता मुंबईमध्ये असल्या कारणाने की आपण सर्व शिक्षित असल्यामुळे आपल्याकडे बालविवाह ही पद्धत बहुतेक आता बंद झाल्यात जमा आहे. तरी पण खेडोपाडी बऱ्याच ठिकाणी अजून बालविवाह होतात. त्याच्यानंतर हुंडा अधिनियम म्हणजे डवळी जे आपण लग्न जमवताना किंवा लग्न करताना एक मुलींकडून मुलांसाठी एक खूप मोठी एक अमाऊंट द्यायची असते. हुंडा द्यावा लागतो. एक अनिष्ट प्रथा, एक चुकीची प्रथा आहे की जी आपल्या अजूनही आपल्या समाजात आहे. अशा अनेक महिलांच्या विरोधामध्ये गुन्हे घडत असतात. त्यासाठी वेगवेगळे आपल्या संसदेने, आपल्या महाराष्ट्र कायदे मंडळाने वेगवेगळे कायदे पारित केलेले आहेत. आणि म्हणजे जेव्हा या कायद्यांचं व्हायोलेशन होतं तेव्हा काही गोष्टी बहुतेक आपल्या महिला या आपल्या घराचं एक अब्रू म्हणा, आपल्या घराचे अब्रू आपल्या दाराच्या किंवा चव्हाट्याच्या बाहेर आणत नाहीत. परंतु अशा अनेक गुन्हे आपल्यावर किंवा आपल्यावर अन्याय अत्याचार होत असतात. आज तसं पाहायला गेलं तर भारतीय महिला बऱ्यापैकी शिक्षित आहे, सुशिक्षित आहे. बऱ्यापैकी महिला आज प्रत्येक क्षेत्रामध्ये पुढारलेल्या आहेत. जसे आज तुम्हीच घ्या की तुमच्या आज त्या नर्सेसच्या त्या मॅडमचं मला नाव आठवत नाही आता. पूर्ण महाराष्ट्र नर्सेसच्या अध्यक्षा होत्या त्या मॅडम. देन आपल्या प्रिन्सिपल मॅडम, व्हाईस प्रिन्सिपल म्हणा किंवा सर्व माझ्या इतर गुरुजन तुमचे जे तुमचे स्टाफ नर्सेस जे काही शिक्षक आहेत, शिक्षिका आहेत, सर्व शिक्षिका आणि वेगवेगळे म्हणजे प्रत्येक क्षेत्रात आज महिला पुढे गेलेल्या आहे की म्हणजे प्रत्येक क्षेत्र घ्या, राजकीय क्षेत्र घ्या, शिक्षण क्षेत्र घ्या किंवा बिझनेस मध्ये घ्या, प्रत्येक क्षेत्रात आज महिला पुढारलेल्या आहेत. तरी आज महिला दिनानिमित्त तर मी सर्व महिलांना महिला दिनानिमित्त हार्दिक शुभेच्छा देतो. सर्व मंगल्य मांगल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थ साधिके शरण्ये त्र्यंबके गौरी नारायणी नमस्तुते. सर्व देवींना मी माझा नमस्कार. आणि मी आताच सर्व मांगल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थ साधिके शरण्ये त्र्यंबके गौरी नारायणी नमस्तुते. पूर्वीपासून आपल्या भारत देशामध्ये किंवा आपल्या हिंदुस्थानामध्ये महिलांना एक उच्च स्थान आहे, होता आणि राहील, मी अशी अपेक्षा करतो. आणि सर्वांना महिला दिनाच्या हार्दिक शुभेच्छा देतो आणि मी माझी रजा घेतो. जय हिंद, जय महाराष्ट्र. थँक्यू. स्टॉप वर मॅडम.
Thank you, Deepak sir, for enlightening us, for creating awareness among women's safety and rights. Also, you have shared your valuable experience of handling such transgender cases. Now, this session is open to all for question and answer. Anyone has any queries, please ask.
सॉरी, कुणाला काय विचारायचं असेल तर विचारू शकतो.
सर एक क्वेश्चन होता. जेव्हा तुमच्याकडे अशा काही केसेस येतात, जरी तुम्ही म्हणाले की लेस्बियन कमी येत आहेत आणि गे जास्त दिसत आहेत, तर वेन एव्हर सच केसेस कम, तुम्हाला म्हणजे जेव्हा कायद्याच्या रिलेटेड जे काय असेल किंवा प्रोटेस्ट जेव्हा होतात, तेव्हा त्यांना पुढे कसं काय प्रोसीड करायला लावतात, की वेदर दॅट इज स्टॉप देअर, की त्यांना कायद्यासाठी पुढे तुम्ही म्हणजे प्रोसीड करता?
तुम्ही लेस्बियन बद्दल बोलता का मॅडम, नेमकं गे बद्दल? म्हणजे मला
गे, स्पेशली गे बद्दल.
स्पेशली गे बद्दल बोलायचं म्हटलं तर मॅडम, आजपर्यंत आता माझ्या मी जे केसेस हँडल केलेले, जे काही गेचे केसेस येतात ते शक्यतो पोलीस स्टेशन पर्यंत खूप कमी येतात. पण आता मी रेल्वेमध्ये सध्या असल्यामुळे, रेल्वेमध्ये असल्यामुळे ते तात्काळ काहीतरी घटना घडते, ते तात्काळ तेवढ्यापुरते जे समोरची व्यक्ती कोणीतरी आपल्या पोलीस स्टेशनला किंवा त्याच्यात थोडंफार तेवढ्यापुरतं एक बोलतात एक अनवॉन्टेड टच कोणाचा सहन होत नाही, म्हणून तेवढ्या त्यांच्यात थोडीफार हाणामारी होते, तेवढ्यापुरतं ते पोलीस स्टेशनला येतात. परंतु त्या ठिकाणी असं होते की जे कोण गे असतो तो त्याला ज्याला कोणाला अनवॉन्टेज किंवा प्रायव्हेट पार्ट कुठेतरी टच केलेला असतो, त्यामुळे समोरची व्यक्ती पण पोलीस स्टेशनला आल्यानंतर समोरची व्यक्ती सुद्धा कुठलीच कंप्लेंट करायची त्याची मानसिकता नसते, तयारी नसते. आणि गेची सुद्धा कुठली कंप्लेंट, जरी त्याला मार लागलेला असेल किंवा काय असेल, त्याची कुठली तयारी, एक माझा अनुभव आहे की त्याची कुठली कंप्लेंट करायची तयारी नसते. आणि विदाउट एनी कंप्लेंट, म्हणजे कुठलीही कोणाची काही तक्रार नसेल तर आम्ही स्वतःहून कधीतरी कोणा विरुद्ध कुठली तक्रार दाखल करतो.
Okay, thank you, sir. My one question to Ajay Shukla, sir, if sir is there.
Yes, please go ahead. I'm there. Yes, I'm there. Tell me.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to ask, like we have reservations for females. Is there any provision in the offices and the corporates for transgender
I'm
reservation?
sorry. You're sorry. Is there reservation in what?
For the transgender or any other LGBTQIA?
In government institutions?
Yeah, I mean, whenever there is a recruitment policy for government and all, is there any provision or special law in relation to recruitment for these genders or community?
So far, ma'am, there is no certain reservation given to them, but it is soon. Like the draft is there, and it will soon be incorporated, ma'am.
All right, sir. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
sir. Thank you. Thank you.
To the next speaker. Not all angels have wings. Some have stethoscopes. Let's have a brief introduction of well-known famous person, Dr. Mr. Indrajit Kandekar, on topic policy changes in relation to LGBTQIA as for medical profession concerned. He had done MBBS, MD Forensic Medicine and Toxicology and LLB, and presently working as a professor Forensic Medicine and Toxicology Department at Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Medical Science, Seva, Wardha District, Maharashtra. Some of his victories are as follows. He had played a key role in banning finger test, virginity test, and its removal from the medical syllabus and textbooks. He brought a national guidelines for medico-legal examination of rape survivors. Removal of unscientific derogatory information about LGBTQIA community and virginity from medical syllabus. Banning conversion therapy. He introduced computerization of medico-legal reports, curtailing unnecessary postmortems, worked on banning semen collection of rape accused, developing clinical forensic and MCCD software. He was the author of Marathi book named Medico-Legal Investigation of Crime for Police Officials.
He was a coordinator of IAFM committee for 174 CRPR amendments. Has delivered more than 300 guest lectures and published various articles in medical journals. He is a very good author, teacher, speaker, and interest in policy reformation. With all these words, I am glad to invite our speaker to continue the session.
Am I audible clearly?
Yes, sir.
So, thank you so much for this nice introduction. First of all, I'm thankful to your nursing college, as well as Madam Surekha Samant Madam, as well as Advocate Akshay Shukla sir, as well as Shri Deepak Damawad sir. For I had gone through his presentations also both, and thank you for enlightening us on such important issues from legal perspective and from police point of view also. And regarding major issues pertaining how patient care should be done in relation to LGBTQI community, that Dr. Shukla sir will highlight more in a better way. I am just covering what are the policy changes that we did in relation to LGBTQ as far as medical profession is concerned. I will highlight the same here in a few minutes. And I hope my voice is very clear, and if any please let me allow to share my screen. I am unable to share my screen. Reshma ma'am?
Yes, sir. Sharing.
Yeah, please.
I think Grishma sir wants to share.
Yes, I want to share my screen. And,
Grishma, you stop sharing so that sir can share it.
yes, and it is showing message that host disabled participant screen sharing.
Yes, sir, because she was trying from her end to share.
Okay, okay, that's good.
Just a second, sir.
Yeah, sure.
So you can share the screen now.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, able to share. I hope my screen is visible to all of you.
Yes, it is, sir.
Yeah, thank you. My topic or presentation is today's topic is LGBTQIA plus vis-a-vis medical profession and policy changes. Firstly, we already know that what are the long form of this LGBTQIA: lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer. Queer means they may have a doubt regarding their self identity. Intersex, asexuals are there, and plus sign they have used. That means they are open to add others also in this. That's why the plus sign is there. What medical books teach about LGBTQI in relation in our medical profession? They differentiate sex offenses as a natural and unnatural. That means any sexual intercourse, if it is not penovaginal, that means if it is not insertion of a penis into vagina, then every intercourse they have turned in at term it as a unnatural in medical textbook. Like suppose a person is inserting penis into the anus of another person, whether she is a male or female doesn't matter, even that will be considered as a unnatural as per our medical textbooks. Okay, that is there. So they have differentiated what is meant by sex, what is meant by natural sex, what is meant by unnatural sex. Suppose someone is giving oral coitus, oral job, blow job to a person, like whether a man is giving oral to the female and whether a female is giving oral to a male, then all things are considered as unnatural as far as medical profession is concerned. Now here, some may agree with this medical profession literature, but I personally do not agree with all these terminologies, because what nature has made natural and what it has made unnatural for us, I don't think that human are that much competent to define it. Everything is in nature, whether it is anal sex, whether it is a buccal coitus, everything is in a nature. And whether they are homosexuals, whether they are heterosexuals, whether they are bisexual, everything is a creature of nature. And they are not artificially made themselves. They are natural to themselves. They are natural. Some may like oral sex, some may like anal sex, some may not like any type of sex. So everything is there. So because when I was working on this issue, that removal, this word unnatural and natural shall be removed from the medical textbook, I received so many queries from medical professionals, my youngsters, my seniors, that Dr. Khandekar, this might be wrong to remove this unnatural, because nature has created the only pinovaginal sex as a natural. Then I asked them why this pinovaginal sex is only natural. They said that it is about procreation, that is creating a birth. I say that, I always say that if it was the only intention of nature to create birth or to give birth to the offsprings, then there must not have been any stimulation to any other part of the body. Like males can do masturbation, females can do masturbation. Even if you see, like when penis is inserted to the vagina, the clitoris rarely gets touched to that portion. So stimulation is there. So I personally don't agree with this classification. That's why I work on this topic, that this natural and unnatural word shall be removed from the medical textbooks and as well as medical literature. That is one thing. If you have any queries, you can ask me meanwhile also, or we can have queries afterwards of this session as per the permission of the organizers. The medical textbooks also labels homosexuality and lesbianism. That basically homosexuality comprising of two parts mainly. That is, one is lesbianism, that is female having attraction with and sexual activity with the female, and gay means male having sexual activity with the another male. Labels homosexuality and lesbianism under unnatural sexual offenses. They also refer them as a sexual perversion and abnormal sexual behaviors. These words also we have removed now. We have fought this and we have removed all these words from the medical literature. Basically, paraphilia can be used word. Paraphilia means the most accepted practice, that is only pinovaginal sex. But if someone is giving oral sex or someone is giving kissing, that can be termed as a paraphilia. That is thus variations in the their sexual activity practices that are not commonly accepted, but they are not disordered itself. We have referred another term, that is paraphilic disorder. That means if any sexual activity, whatever sexual activity the persons, both persons or individual person is utilizing, if that sexual activity is causing harm to himself or the other partner, then can only be, it can be termed as a disorder. Otherwise, paraphilia is a normal variant or is a variant of the already accepted practices. Our textbook, medical textbook, also labels homosexuals as antisocial. I do not know how this word came in medical literature, what study they did. When we want to be a judgmental, we want to judge any community, homosexuals, they are not less in number, they are very bigger in number. If we want to label them as an antisocial, we must have some studies for this. And I think there are no studies. These are the personal perceptions of a writer. They have used their personal perceptions while writing the textbook. So my sincere request to all authors, as well as would-be authors, like from nursing also, you will become authors. So don't do copy paste while writing the textbook. If you are giving some opinion, judgmental, you're becoming judgmental on particular issue, you must have some scientific data for it before labeling someone as an antisocial. Like if you call doctors, all doctors are corrupt, that will become judgmental. Okay, you can quote that this much percentage are there. The study has quoted like this. So even we cannot say that all lawyers are that means they fight only for criminals. So we cannot comment like this in a very loose way. We must have some studies to prove, to support our contentions, and then we can write percentage of it. So whenever we give such comments, please be careful, because once anyone introduce this comment in a textbook, that comments are later on copy pasted by other subsequent authors, and that becomes the norm. And even questions are asked on these terms: who are antisocials? The answer would be in multiple MCQ: homosexuals are antisocial. So these are the words we must avoid and we must refrain from using, and we must not. These are the derogatory comments, I can say. Homosexuality is taught as a sexual disorder. Previously it was thought like that, but when they realized, after so many studies, various international studies were done on this topic, whether homosexuality is really a sexual disorder or whether it is their personal artificially made attraction. The studies has proved that it is by birth. Since the birth, whether person will become homo or hetero or bisexual, that has been defined, but just public came to know, or the person himself or herself came to know only he enters into adolescent age. That means when he learned how to express himself or herself, only in that at that time he can recognize. So now our Indian Psychiatric Society, as well as International Psychiatric Society, as well as Diagnostic Statistical Manual, as well as International Classification of Disease, has removed this homosexuality from any type of sexual disorder. They are now not, they did not recognize it as a disorder. So we must these terms are used as now. That's why I appeal to all authors of medical textbook as well as nursing textbook to remove such antisocial words, unscientific words from medical literature. What medical, in continuation of our this, books also tells that, this is another, books also tells that lesbian are muscular in type, they are morbidly jealous of one another, and sometimes may culminate in murder or suicide. Actually, I know various lesbians. Some are my friends also, but I never seen they are muscular. My personal, because I was in Chennai as well as in Bangalore for giving talk on this issue. So there were some lesbian activists were there, some another homosexual activists were there. They were speaker also, and one of the speaker, she's my friend also, Marini. She's and she has declared that she is a lesbian. So I have never seen whatever public call, because I don't agree these terms normal and abnormal, because we cannot define anyone that this is normal and this is abnormal. Okay, but we can say that the commonly accepted or perception viewed of a girl, she's like a girl, but she is a lesbian, but she is not muscular. So whenever we quote someone like this, we must have some studies, how many percentage are muscular, then how many males or how many girls, those who are heterosexual, are muscular. That studies also has to be conducted there. Just we cannot quote one community and label them as per our wish. So my sincere request to all the authors, please be careful while utilizing such words in your medical textbook. Okay. Books portrays hijras as habitual passive agents, and hijras are there. The terms are used in medical textbook, and this says that they are habitual passive agents. So this term is also wrong, and we should avoid using such terms. And That's why we have. That's why a committee was formed as per Madras High Court by National Medical Commission by our president of UG Medical Board, Arina Wanikar, and I was one of the member of that committee. Another members were there from psychiatrist and pediatrician as well as me. I myself was the member, and we issued so many instructions. We recommended so many changes in our curriculum also as well as medical textbook, and our recommendations were accepted by the National Medical Commission, Delhi, that is India. And as per our suggestion, the NMC directed all the authors of the country, who write down about medical textbooks, that remove false, derogatory, or unscientific information about LGBTQ and virginity from medical textbooks. This was you can those who want to go into the details of this order or other changes that we propose, they can visit my blog as well as my Facebook page, and details I'm going to upload very soon. I hope my slides are moving now.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. Now either you can see another slide here. Decision by NMC on our committee suggestion. Another decision that was taken by us. I think Bindu Madhav Khire sir is also seen this press news, and he is also one of the speaker for the today's session, I think. No, he is not, I think. Okay. And then Dr. Aruna Wanikar is here. Here, our committee suggested banning of conversion therapy. Conversion therapy. Do anyone aware about this conversion therapy? What does it really means? Anyone aware about this conversion therapy that has been banned, and we propose it banning? And anyone aware? Anyone can unmute themselves and ask if possible to you. Otherwise, I will share.
I think conversion therapies are usually used in the US, and it is made by an attempt to change someone's sexual orientation.
Okay, thank you.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well said. Here, conversion therapy is used around 69 countries of the world, around 69, more than 69. Even India also it is used. So many, even my friends, those who were homosexuals and those who were like lesbian as well as homosexuals, gay, they had gone through this conversion therapy, and I have when they were speakers, I have listened to their pain, sufferings while going through this conversion therapy. In conversion therapy, like already sir said, that conversion therapy is not the, as sir said, it is the changing sexual orientation. Here you must be specific, because I received so many queries on this article later on. That is, if someone wants to change sex of the person, what he should do. Remember, sex change surgeries, sex reassignment surgeries, sex reaffirmative surgeries are not conversion therapy. Conversion therapy just to change the sexual orientation of a person. Suppose myself, if I am a heterosexual or if I am a bisexual, if someone wants to make homosexual, or if someone is homosexual, he is getting attracted to if he's a male attracted to male, or if he's a female getting attracted to female, to change his sexual orientation to heterosexual. That is only conversion therapy. In conversion therapy, electric shocks are given, electroconvulsive therapies are given, hormone injections are given, and these so many things are done. But studies has shown that on the person on whose conversion therapy were tried, most of the persons committed either suicide, they went into depression, and there was harm to them, because the trauma that were caused by this conversion therapy made a guilt in their mind that they are abnormal people. No one was able to accept that this is the normal variant. This is the variant of a variant created by the nature. And everyone says that you are abnormal, you are a psychiatric patient, you are having sexual disorder. So many things are there. And everything created guilt, and they lost their future perspective too. That's why this was a conversion therapy to change the sexual orientation. And our committee proposed not only banning of this conversion therapy, but if any doctor is found to be doing this conversion therapy or practicing conversion therapy, then it should be termed as unethical and unprofessional conduct, and his name shall be removed from the medical register for the temporary period, or it could be a permanent eraser also. So conversion, doctor can try as much therapy as he wants. I do not deny it. No will deny it. But there must be some scientific basis for it. There must be some studies which proves that this will happen after the studies. Like we are taking vaccine, and there must be proof that vaccine will save us from certain viruses and we will never die like that, whatever it is. So these things are there. So we must have some evidence to support the recommendations or any treatment that is being rendered or given. So conversion therapy was practiced, and that has no scientific basis. After our study, we studied around 2 months for this, and we found that there is no evidence which suggests that conversion therapy is useful. And also the studies have suggested that there is no way whereby you can change sexual orientation of any person. That is not possible. Okay. Now, sexual orientation and sexual activity. Lesbian already told about this. Female get attracted and have sexual activity with female. Gay male get attracted and have sexual activity with male. And bisexual person get attracted and have sex with both male as well as female. And lastly, heterosexual male gets attracted and have sexual activity with female or vice versa. This is a sexual orientation I am talking. So there is no way where this sexual orientation can be changed. If person is bisexual, he will always remain bisexual. Gay, he will remain gay, and lesbians are there. So having so much literature available on this issue, we can at present scientifically conclude that there is no way where we can, there is no medical way by which we can convert or change sexual orientation of a person. Now, changes done in syllabus on our committee's recommendation. Here, first changes, there are so many competencies. We have modified maximum medical curriculum that is available on this issue. And those who want to see what changes we have actually proposed, because it is a very long long report, so they can visit my blog as well as website, in my Facebook page. So here I will take 1 or 2 points here. Demonstrate and in a simulated environment the ability to educate and counsel individual and family members about various types of sexual orientation being normal. Basically, normal word has been used in this. Ideally we should avoid, because we cannot say what is normal and abnormal. Everything is there that we are mostly accepted, we can use, but as normal is mostly accepted that this is the normal and this is abnormal, we we kept this word as it is. Demonstrate an attitude of openness and respect for all genders and sexuality. That means medical students will be taught that they should have an ability and they should have an attitude of openness and respect for all genders and sexualities. Like it is a nursing student or it is a medical professional or any healthcare workers, whenever any person while doing examination or whenever he visits your hospital, he is open to you, and if he says that I am a homosexual, then we must respect. नहीं तो ऐसा अरे यार इसने क्या कर दिया, ये कौन है, ये कौन है, इस तरह का नहीं होना चाहिए. We should have a respect for all genders as well as sexualities. For details, please refer to my blog as well as on Facebook page. Now, problems due to non-acceptance of homosexuality. What is the problem? Not only homosexuality, all other genders also. I will just share some points here. This has resulted into teaching unscientific and discriminatory information via medical textbooks, and it misguided the society at large. That means you must know that whatever has been incorporated and written in medical textbooks, that has been also translated in for the public domain also. So public is also aware what is written in medical textbook. If you write down such unscientific information or if you write down such discriminatory information in your textbook, then definitely society will get misguided at large. The same thing has happened with virginity. I have tried to remove this false information from virginity, and now we have amended our syllabus regarding virginity also. Virginity is a very big topic. If organizers permit, we can have a detailed discussion on virginity also some other time. So virginity and what efforts we took to remove this virginity test from medical textbook, because medical textbooks were teaching this virginity as well as this unscientific information, and that's why courts were also getting misguided. So medical textbooks are the paramount importance. So my request to all authors that they should not write something that is unscientific, that is discriminatory, and do not have any medical evidence to support. Forcing conversion therapy has dangerous consequences, because most of the times these conversion therapies are forced and has dangerous consequences. Forcing the person to get married to the person of opposite sex. Now, this is the very common problem, because yesterday or day before yesterday, I received a call. I received a call multiple times, because whenever they public read news about me. Now, day before yesterday or 2 days, I received a call from one of the doctors. Just a minute. One of the doctor himself, that he said to me that, sir, I'm a homosexual, but my parents are forcing me to get married with another girl. She's also happens to be a doctor. Now he said what I should do. Engagement was done. Engagement is already done. I said, have you told your parents about your sexual orientation? He said, I told them, but they said that you can just get married with a girl and then you will get attracted to the girl. It is not simple like that, my dear friends. Attraction is not artificial attraction. It comes through within. If person doesn't get attracted to a female, even if he's a male, he will never get attracted to females. Remember that thing. So on the pretext of that false belief the parents has, he agreed to get married. Okay, he agreed to get married. Now, after engagement, around 3 to 4 months were there. He tried to get himself attracted, but he has no attraction. He said that I do not have any attraction. Even when she tried to touch him, when the girl tried to touch him, he removes his hand. He don't allow her to touch. That means he do not have any attraction to that female. So I advise him that please don't spoil the life of another person. And here, what I am saying, here I have used importancy word. Though this please someone may please put off their mic. Please mute mic. Someone may show signs of it, because person are not important. They are getting erection. There are so many cases, like I have so many places like Amravati, Yotmal, I have seen so many cases where the girl filed a case for having virgin or for having no sexual intercourse with her husband, even after 6 to 8 months of marriage. Now here she claims that importance is there, must be. But when I interacted with such persons, they were not actually important. Erection of penis was there. That means penis was able to have a penetration, but not in the vagina of female, because he don't get erection when he see vagina of a penis, vagina of a female. So that's why that can be termed as a different importance, because he is unable to take part in a sexual intercourse. So when I inquired why this is so the person says that I am homosexual, and then why you got married? Because of family pressure. So my sincere request to all parents also, would-be parents also, don't force anyone to get married with the partner without their wish. Please remember, because you are going to spoil life of the two persons, not only two persons, but the whole two families that are involved in this. There are involved in this and marriage endeavors. So don't force anyone. If a person is ready to get married, he is having sexual attraction, like suppose both are asexual, both do not have any sexual interest, then also they can marry. I do not say that they cannot, but if one person is asexual, and if he is in because I think last 15 days back, I had a lecture and one girl came to me and she asked me, after listening my lecture, sir, I am a 29-year-old girl. I do not have any sexual interest. I do not want to have sex with anyone. So I said, it's fine. It's okay. So that's why I am not getting married to anyone. But I am fine. That's if you are not interested in sexual activity, then it is okay. But what she said, but sir, I want a partner. Here the glitch comes. I said to her that if you really want a partner, tell him prior that you are asexual, do not have an interest in sexual activity, because you should not spoil his life also. Because I know that because of some pressure or because of some since birth also, some may be asexual and some may have negative consequences, negative feeling about sex, because sex is a sin, or that's why it should be controlled. That may create some types of asexuality in person's mind, that may create. So here my point is, if someone is asexual or someone is homosexual, so he must clearly say to his partner that what is he or she actually is. Don't spoil other person's life. You can both are asexual, and if the person has do not have, other person also do not have any interest in sex, then definitely both person can live a very happy life. Otherwise there's a tension, there could be a quarrels, there could be a so many stress and depression also. So here, as far as homosexuals are concerned, most of the times impotency, divorce or nullity of marriage cases are filed. Nullity of marriage and divorce, these are the two different terms. Suicide by the persons. Here in impotency, I would like to say that lesbians, because impotency of a females is very, because of impotency, because of asexuality of a female, that is frigidity, we call it as a, if any female is asexual, there could be, she may be homosexual, or there must be frigidity, or she may do not have any interest in sex, that is there. But this female frigidity or females asexuality or females non-interest is not easily recognizable, because most of the times female is a passive partner. There are very few females who are actively involved in sex. They can have a sex from top also. There are so many few females are there, but most of the females are passive, act as a passive agent. So they lie down and husband or another partner perform the sex. That's why their homosexuality or their asexuality doesn't get notice. But as male has to insert penis, he needs erection also, he needs desire also, and that's why his asexuality or his non-interest in opposite partner gets easily identified or notified. So that's why impotency cases may be less filed, the divorce or nullity of marriage cases filed by male on the ground of having asexuality in a wife will be less as compared to females. Females may file cases easily because they get easily noticed about the asexuality or non-interest of a male into the sexual activity. Then suicide by the person may commit suicide. There are so many cases. Even those persons, homosexuals who have got conversion therapy, the percentage of suicides is more as compared to the persons who are not homosexual persons who are not got conversion therapy. These are the things are there. So my point is, take home message is, it is there is no medical way by which sexual orientation of a person there is no medical way by which sexual orientation of a person can be changed. As a healthcare workers, you are nursing student also, or medical student, or any healthcare worker, we must respect all genders as well as all sexual orientations, whether homo, hetero. Our care should not depend on the type of the sexual orientation the person has. We have to give proper treatment to the person. We must consider our patient as an individual entity and not as a social entity. Individual entity. Every individual has his rights as well as duties. So we must keep this in mind. And One key message. And so, and second key message to the authors is whenever you write any textbook about LGBTQ or virginity or any other such terms, please refer to only scientific literature. Just previous author has quoted something. That's why you should not quote as it is by just doing copy paste. You must apply your mind. There is no rule of law that which says that logic cannot be applied. Okay, logic, you must apply logic. You must have your studies and you must have existing literature, standard literature available. And what are the studies? When you want to label something, if you want to become a judgmental on something, you must have some studies to give some judgment on that particular topic. Personal opinion, you can write down, this is my personal opinion, that you can write. But if you do not quote specifically as my personal opinion, that opinion gets as a accepted as a medical opinion. So I have my sincere request that we should not guide the society at large. Whatever there is there, that must be clearly told. If something you can do, you can tell. If there is scientific basis that we can do by doing such and such tests, then definitely you can tell. But if there is no way, we must accept that medical science, we must accept the limitations of medical science. And we can clearly convey that there are limitations for medical science also. So that's all here. Once again, I'm thankful to participants, delegates, the speakers like Advocate Shukla sir, Shri Police Inspector Deepak sir, as well as organizers and this nursing college for inviting me and giving this wonderful opportunity. And I request all the organizers that this topic is very vast and actually it required continuous communication between the participants. And this is not possible through online mode. So I request to have a physical interaction. We can have a one or 2 hour session for this, because when we speak and on every point, the listeners or participant has a question and they can ask question as soon as they listen to our sentence. And only in that way we can clear their doubts, because so many doubts will be there. So here I rest my talk. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for such an informative section related to the medical curriculum, different types of terminology we have to use. Also, thank you for giving us detailed information regarding the conversion therapy and also the syllabus changes related to this topic. Also, thank you for addressing the problems which are related for not accepting in our society. Thank you, sir, for this information.
Sir, regarding your suggestion, I'll definitely see to it that you will have an interaction with my students in my college in the further sessions.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. If any questions, they can ask, ma'am. If any students has any questions. Thank you so much.
If any questions are there, participant can put their questions in the chat box. We will answer you later. Now we come to our last speaker. Mental health is a much talked about topic, especially in the past 2 years of pandemic. Today, we have an expert in the field of mental health, Dr. Bhushan Shukla, who is a child and adolescent psychiatrist. Presently, he is working as a psychiatrist at Trinity Clinic and child psychiatrist at Srimati Kashibai Navle Medical College. Regarding sir, since 2000, sir has worked to prevent all type of child sex abuse. His training, one of the famous training program of No Go Tell in prevention of abuse, was featured on Amir Khan's Satyamev Jayanti and also adopted by various NGOs and government agencies. Sir is also an advocate of mental health, which helps in the important for the component of overall well-being. He also works with various school, colleges, family court, and also with the juvenile justice system. Also, sir has conducting a mini parenting workshop. I welcome you, sir, in this webinar. Now the platform is open for you.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Is my voice clearly audible to everybody?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Principal Shettigar, for inviting me here today. And I'm very glad that this talk is following up on the talk with Dr. Khandekar, who has been instrumental in making fundamental changes in medical jurisprudence, the way people are examined, and the way sexual minorities are treated by medical curriculum. So I do not have any slides for presentation here because I am definitely interested in interacting with the students and hearing a few things from them. So while we are on this topic of sexuality, can any of the students tell me if they have met a person who belong to minority sexuality? What I mean by minority sexuality is people who are not heterosexual, which is taken as the majority sexuality by nature. Has any one of you ever met a person or talked to them about their sexuality and they were not heterosexual? Any exposure at all? If any of the students have met a person like that, who has declared their sexuality, their orientation to be like that, please unmute yourself and let me hear you. Or you can type it in the chat box for me to see. Hello. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So haven't come across what exactly you are saying, but have come across situations where the ward, where surrogacy is done, and lesbians and gay couples have been looked down upon.
Right.
So this is the situation that we have witnessed when they come there, and then people, either laugh at them or, pinpoint or talk behind their back. So this is the situation that we have witnessed.
Right. Anyone else other than Delphina who has come across people like that from either in your hospital clinical care settings or in your life outside hospitals? Okay, so I don't know if people are feeling shy about speaking up or how it works, but let us take it on from there. Very recently, one of my friends came back from US after a long time that he spent there, good 22 to 25 years that he spent there. And he's also a practicing doctor like myself. And we did an informal survey with doctors and nurses, both in US as well as in India, to ask people what brings them to healthcare. Why did they take up healthcare as their profession? And the results were quite shocking for both of us. In India as well as in US, most of the doctors said that they are in healthcare because it is a good profession, it pays well, it has a lot of respect. Some of them said that they became doctors because they were inspired by other doctors or their parents were doctors, etc. And the nurses uniformly said that we chose healthcare because we like to help people. We like to look after people. We like to care for people. And what it means is that the core principles of healthcare, the core foundation of healthcare, which is to reduce suffering of other people, is actually held up by only nursing profession. And doctors have abandoned it a long time ago. And why am I bringing up here? Because this is a particular population that we are talking about who get least amount of representation in any of the fields and probably suffer the most. So if they ever talk about their suffering, if they ever ask for help, it is most likely to be going, it's most likely going to be with their nurse carer than their doctors. And that is why I decided to accept this invitation of talking to all of you today, because there is a very high chance that a patient will talk about their sexuality or sexual orientation or sexual distress with you as their nurse carer than speaking it openly with their doctor. So you sit there in a very unique position where people find you to be very close to their heart and are willing to open up and talk to you. Now, if you are going to be in that position, there is some information that I want you to carry with you. And I'm going to try and simplify this information as much as possible. If you think this is getting complicated, or if I'm using any words that are uncommon, please raise your hand, ask me immediately, or type that question in the chat box so that I can answer that question straight away. So the first thing that we need to know is that homosexuality does not show anywhere on body. So when you meet a person, when you examine them, unless they specifically talk about their sexuality or you ask about it, there is no chance that you are going to know about it. They don't look any different than you and me. This is something important to remember. Second thing to remember is that though we talk a lot about transgendered people, the number of transgendered people reaching hospitals is really, really small. You would be lucky to see a few in your entire career, because typically the percentage of transgenders is about 1 in 10,000 or 1 in 20,000 people, which is a really small percentage. Of course, when you talk about a country like India, where the entire population is 140 crores, the number of transgender also runs into lakhs. But still, that is a small number as compared to the total proportion. So unless you are working in a specialist unit, you are unlikely to come across those. Most of the transgendered people have their own specific doctors and their own care pathways. They usually try to avoid mainstream as far as possible, because we really don't show any sensitivity toward their needs. And third thing that I want you to know, Dr. Indrajit has already spoken about it in brief, so I'll try to elaborate a little bit on that, is that any person's sexuality or sexual being is usually assessed based on 3 parameters. First parameter is what kind of body that they are born with. We all know that we have a pair of sex chromosomes, which is XX in females and XY in males. Then we have internal sexual organs, like they are called gonads, testis and ovary, as well as uterus and fallopian tubes. Then we have external sexual organs, and we have hormones which give appropriate stimulation to our sexuality and develop an environment and physical form that goes with that particular sex. Now, all of this is the biological part of our sexuality. What we need to know is that most of us are lucky in that we belong to the majority. 90 to 95% people have their sex chromosomes, their internal sexual organs, their external sexual organs, and their hormonal environment, everything catering to either being biologically a male or biologically a female. But as we know, biology has a way of tricking people and doing things. So things can go wrong at any of this level, and you can have confusion in biological sex itself. This is one part. Second part that we need to know about is that we also identify ourselves to be of a particular gender. So you may identify yourself as a man or as a woman or any variation of that. And the third part is our sexual orientation. What stimulates us sexually is something that differs with every person. Again, majority of us, good 90 to 95% of us, have a particular biological sex. For example, I have my biological sex is that of a man. So I have chromosomes of a man. I have hormones of a man. My internal and external sexual organs are that of a man. So my biological sex is male. My identification, my gender is male. I identify myself as a man and I try to behave in that social psychological way which goes with man. And my orientation, my sexual excitation is towards females. So I like adult females as my sexual partners. Okay, most of us are in this category where our biological sex and our gender matches and we get excited, sexually excited by the opposite gender. Good 90% to 95% of us belong to this category. But there will always be variations on all these three axes. So there can be something on your biological axis which will not give you a clear male or female body. There could be some variation on your gender identification where you may have a male body but believe or feel like a woman inside and vice versa, or you may not identify with any gender at all. And your sexual orientation may be towards men, towards women, or of any of the variation that we saw. Now, all of this is a very private information. As nurses who are looking after the patients, how does it affect your day-to-day life? Can anybody tell me, can anybody type their opinion in the chat box telling me that how do you think all this information is relevant to our day-to-day work in the hospitals or in the clinics? Any idea at all? Any such instances that you have come across where sexuality of a person became an important issue for you? Anyone is most welcome to unlock themselves and unmute themselves and answer this question. I hope that some of you are actually present and you haven't just merely logged in. So have any one of you come across such situations where a person's sexuality was actually the issue there? Someone has written here that they have come across transgendered patients when they came in for operations or something like that. Yes, Anjali Kadare has said that she has nursed patient of transgender sex or of transgender sexuality. Anyone else who has come across such clinical situations where sexuality was important or had to be considered? Okay, so let us start with the most basic thing. What do we call our patients? We usually call them by their first name. Now, imagine being in a situation, particularly with a transgender, okay, who identifies, say, a man who looks and say talks like me, gets admitted with you, but tells you that, say, for example, I am a transgender, I identify as a woman, and my name in my community is, say, Mohini. Okay, so that person would expect you to call them not only by that name, but address her as a woman. And this is one of the most important initial interactions with a person. That what would you like to be called and what are the pronouns that you use? Because somebody who looks like a man or has a voice like a man, but expects to be addressed as a woman is a very difficult thing to accept for their treating team of doctors, nurses, and other therapists also. So this is where the rapport building initially starts. So what we expect is that people should be allowed to use the pronoun that they prefer and the name that they prefer. Because of legal complications, their name on the chart or their name on the Aadhaar card may be something else, but they may want to use a pronoun which actually shows their preferred gender and not the gender that is put on their Aadhaar card. So helping them there is really important. Another thing that turns up in hospitals routinely, particularly for patients who are in general ward, is that a person is admitted to their biologically gender ward. So a woman will get admitted to female ward, but a man who's a trans man, okay, a trans woman, so is born as a man but identifies as a woman, will still be admitted in a male ward. And this is where we have serious problems. Okay, so this is where they are likely to ask for your help in transferring themselves to female ward or give them a secluded place where they can be and they can feel safe. It is also the same when they are using toilets or need help in bed. They may ask you that I feel uncomfortable with one particular type of gender serving me. So instead of a ward boy, can you please send a maushi or a aya to help me? That will be more comfortable. These are all practical questions that we use. Look at it this way, that in a female ward, we make arrangements that most of the people working there are females. That is not a problem. Okay, and nurses almost always are females. Very few male nurses actually exist. So, yeah, here Anjali has given us some very important information that we have been taught, unless a client starts a conversation about sexuality, do not enter into any dialogue related to these issues. Now, this is a general guideline typically given to all the nurses. One thing that we can remember is that we can always ask people what they like to be addressed as and then call them by that name. And that usually helps. That is a good enough start. But again, I agree with Anjali here and your training that unless there is a specific request by the patient, one is not supposed to get into that. Just asking them that, do you need any other help as far as your privacy is concerned, is usually a good enough question. It's a respectful enough question to get started with this. So we were going back to the ward where most of the services are provided by one type of, say for example, there will be more male servants, male nurses if possible on a male ward, and the same will be done for female ward by female nurses and female attendants. But typically these people will ask for extra help that they need, and except nurses, they have nowhere to go to. Because when it comes to doctor, they are only going to talk about their symptoms and what is hurting them and what is the treatment going on. But for everything else, they are going to be talking to their nurses. So this is something that is very important. Some of you who particularly work in endocrinology or in surgical wards are going to have more and more exposure to people who have different sexualities and different gender issues, because they will be admitted in the hospitals for either surgeries, for hormonal treatments, or even in clinics to get their regular hormonal injections, etc. So it is important to be aware of this and be very mindful of this combination of three axes. One axis is about biological sex that nature has given us. Second is about the gender role, which is the social role that we identify with. And the last part of that is the sexuality, what sexually stimulates us. And all of these variations are now considered normal by science. The way we have different color of eyes, different color of our skin, different color of our hair, or we have different dietary preferences. In the same way, we can have different sexual preferences as well. So that is usually the commonest and the bare minimum information that you need to know as a nursing student and as a practicing nurse working in a hospital about transgender people. Now, one thing I definitely want to hold back is that if you can ask a few questions about this area, then I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. If there are no questions, then we will be able to stop here. There was just one question that I saw here. It was about sex education, that when should sex education be commenced? The simple answer to that is that officially the sex education is given in schools when children hit puberty. So typically after 12 years of age. So typically after 7th standard. Some of the schools do inform girls about their periods and menstruation a little early on, but usually this is not talked about before 7th or 8th standard. When we are talking to children at home as parents, the simple rule is that whenever children start asking questions about sex education or anything like that, we start answering those questions. So some children may ask difficult questions as young as 6 or 7 years of age, or even 4 years of age. Some children may not ask questions till 12. Whenever they are ready, whenever they ask questions, we try to answer those questions for them. That is how sex education works. Are there any other specific questions that you would be interested in asking me as a psychiatrist or as a doctor that will help you deal with people who have different sexuality, different sexual orientation, or different body morphology? I'll be happy to answer those questions.
Sir, Shukla sir.
Yes.
May I add something about this sex education? May I add something?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Sir, actually, whenever this question comes, like I deliver talks on sex education at various places. So I entered in area of sex education because of my kids when they were very small. So because like sir has rightly said that official education starts at the time of puberty, but unofficial education that should start from home also. I am talking about it. Keep from home. In home, we can start sex education from birth. Means the first step to start sex education is to educate our kids to identify their body parts properly, including genitalia. Like we teach our kids that this is susu karne ki jagah hai, this is your dick, damn Harry. Rather than teaching them such names, we can educate them that this is your penis, this is your vagina, and you should wash it clearly. You should wash it clearly and keep it clean. That can be taught since beginning, and slowly as age progresses, then we can teach about ejaculation. Because when my kid was small, there was erection of his penis, and he has always wondered when he was age young of around 5 months, 5 years, 6 years. So I taught him what is erection of a penis, erection of a clitoris. Because when my girl was watching TV, she said that कि मुझे गुदगुली होती है मेरे वजाइना में. So I teach her कि ऐसा क्यों होता है. So this should start as early as possible if you feel that you are comfortable talking with. But अभी हम लोग क्या सोचते हैं कि इमीडिएटली आफ्टर 12 12 साल के बाद इमीडिएटली आप बात नहीं कर पाओगे, कोई भी पेरेंट बात नहीं कर पाता है. इसलिए पहले we should get comfortable with identifying the body organs properly, and then we can talk about cleaning. First we can start about cleaning also, and keeping it safe also, and slowly the parents will gain confidence in discussing these issues about sex education with their kids. And then ultimately automatically we can have a healthy discussion about sex education, sexuality, sexual orientation, and thereby we can remove so many problems in the society, that our society is facing lot of problems because of inadequate sex education. What I see, I get so many phone calls from the students, like engineers, doctors. They clearly says that, sir, my wife is good in kitchen, in family caring, but she is not good in bed. Even the same thing females also claim about their married partner. So proper sex education must be started as early as possible. And to start with, we can teach our kids the names of a genitalia in a clear words. Like if you can see that our school textbooks, like first standard or a second standard, they teach human body parts but covers their genitalia. And this is giving wrong impression in the minds of a students that these are some bad parts. That's why this should be covered. Basically, these are not a bad part, these are the important part like other body parts. So disinformation, this misinformation should be removed from our textbooks or school textbooks since class 1 standard.
Thank you so much, sir. This is my submission. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Khandekar. This is an important point, that any education usually goes on for years and years. Our traditional sex education model is to gather children in one room, sex segregated, and teach girls about menstruation and teach boys about sexually transmitted diseases, teach girl about pregnancy, teach boys about little bit about pregnancy and contraception, and leave it there. This is a very old model which is based on sex as procreation as intended by nature philosophy, which is obviously debunked long time ago. Now all of us know that sex is essentially a pleasure mechanism that all of us have, and we use it accordingly. So depending on the growing age, growing concerns, growing problems in children's mind, we should be informing them as and when they ask, and give them more and more information freely and clearly. So, okay, that is okay. Here we have one more. How can we handle situations like extramarital and premarital sexual affairs? I honestly don't know whether this will fall in the category of what we are dealing with here today, which is essentially LGBTQI plus spectrum. But this is something that is typically handled in a counseling session, where either that person is coming to you asking for help, that I have an extramarital affair, and if they have complicated emotions associated with that, like guilt or ambivalence, then the counselor will help them with it. If it comes across as a couple situation where couple comes to you and one of them says that, oh, my spouse is having a relationship outside the marriage, and this is where the marriage is going to break apart. But this would initially be essentially be a counseling situation. Okay, so if there are no further questions, I would like to take your leave. Once again, thank you, Dr. Indrajit, for recommending my name. And sorry, there are more questions. Just a second. I think all the questions are coming only from one person, which is slightly surprising for me. So the problems like stigma, murder, suicide, and healthy marital life is becoming more intricate due to technology. How can technology help? So this is a very important question, and thanks for asking this question. We see more and more people who report difficulties in their life because of technology, and at the same time, technology helps them greatly access the information and stimulation material as well. So you helping people to identify appropriate use of technology or getting proper help from technology is equally important. Making them aware if technology is harming their sexual life, then making them aware of that. The commonest problem that we see now is because of pornography. A lot of people report that their normal sexual life is disturbed because of that, because the kind of stuff that they see in pornographic films is really not possible in real life, and then they feel very disheartened, very disillusioned. This can even lead to breaking up of marriages, and then people are forever lost in pornography as their only source of sexual gratification. So this again becomes a counseling situation where partners are counseled together and helped to wean themselves away from such negative effects of technology. Okay, so once again, my thanks to Dr. Khandekar and Principal Shettikar Madam for inviting me here today. And it's a great pleasure interacting with you. Thank you.
Sir, it was our pleasure to hear you, sir. It was my long-standing need also. Thank you so much for enlightening us, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Am I allowed to leave the meeting now? I'll need to go back to start the clinic straight away.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for such an interactive session and also helps to enlighten the knowledge regarding the practical aspects along with the different issues which are there and how to handle that. Thank you very much, sir. If participants have no further questions, we can move further with that. Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll take your leave now. Thanks a lot. Bye, Dr. Khandekar. Bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye.
Bye.
Announcement of competition results. As we all know, we had conducted some competition on the occasion of International Women's Day, and the results are now declared by our very eminent judges. Thank you so much for our respectful, trustworthy judges. Best wishes to all the participants. Congratulations to all the winners. Your awards will be reaching you in couple of days. Now we'll announce the winners. The winners are.
So the last competition, which was held by Srimati Sunanda Pravin College of Nursing on the occasion of Women's Day celebration. The competition was for the teaching staff, students, and all nurses. So first is regarding essay. In essay, we have separated it into English, Marathi, and Hindi. In English, first position goes to Ms. Harshata Kishore Joshi from MES College of Nursing. Second prize for English essay goes to Ms. Imani Vivek Datte from Srimati Kamlaben Gambhirchand Law College. Third rank is obtained by Ms. Shruti Naresh Lokhande from LT College of Nursing. Next for Marathi essay, first position held by Ms. Madhuri V. Dantavate from KEM Hospital. Second prize goes to Ms. Neelam Chaudhary, Srimati Sunanda Pravin, Gambhirchand College of Nursing. Third prize goes to Ms. Chetna Yogesh More from KEM School of Nursing. Regarding Hindi essay, first prize by Ms. Bhavika Shyam Singh Rathod from Ashram College of Nursing. Second prize won by Ms. Nandini Singh from Bhakti Vinan Hospital Research Center, Mira Road. Third prize goes to Ms. Simran Sayad, LTMG School of Nursing Science. Regarding photography, for photography, the first prize banked by Ms. Vinya Mane from LTMG Sign Hospital. Second prize goes to Ms. Shivani Sawan, Nanavati Super Specialty Hospital. And third prize goes to Ms. Himani Dati, Srimati Kamla Ben Gambhirchand Law College. Regarding collage, first prize goes to Ms. Jyoti R. from LTMG Sign Hospital. Second prize goes to Ms. Shivani Sawan, Navati Super Specialty Hospital. And third prize goes to Ms. Bhavika Matre, LTMG Sign Hospital. This is all for the teaching staff. We had the three competition, essay, collage, and photography. Now we have the non-teaching staff competition. Here we having the two competition. First one is essay and the second one is poem. We also have the different team for the essays. And the first prize goes in for the essay is Miss Shivani Prabhu from Srimati Maniben MP Shah Women's College of Arts and Commerce. Second prize goes to Miss Mamta Sundavesha, but she has not mentioned her institute. If anybody knows or anybody having contact with that person, please make sure that he or she should contact us regarding her institute. And the last third prize goes to Miss Gayatri Hatikar from Srimati Maniben MP Shah, Women's College of Art and Commerce, Matunga. Regarding poem, first prize banked by Miss Maheshwari S. Koshti from St. George Hospital. Second, and also we having two first prize. First prize is Miss Manali Vashnik from Ashram Nursing College. So we have two first prizes for poem for non-teaching staff. Second prize for non-teaching staff essay competition goes to Miss Vaishali Ingole from Nasrin Nurses Training College, Washi. And the third prize goes to Miss Ankita Chauhan, LTMG Sign Hospital. Congratulations to all the winners, and also we thankful for all the judges for that. Before we go for end with the webinar, I request all the participants to fill the feedback form for certificate. The feedback form link is already given in the chat box. So make sure that all the participants should fill that feedback form. Then only you will get the certificate. Next, we come to the last session. Now I invite Miss Delphina Gurav ma'am, Vice Principal of SMES SSPG College of Nursing, for vote of thanks.
Thank you, Grishma. It is my immense pleasure to propose the vote of thanks. First of all, I extend my warm wishes to all the women present in this forum on the occasion of International Women's Day that we just celebrated. I feel glad and thank the Almighty that finally we have broken this stereotype of understanding the meaning of gender equality. We are at last talking on a very sensitive issue which is stigmatized and considered antisocial or untalked about. We feel blessed that we were blessed with so great eminent speakers today from varied fields. I extend my sincere thank to the university and the proposer of this topic to be amended in the CBME curriculum. I thank the IQAC of SMES SSPG College of Nursing to take up the sensitive topic today and arranging lovely eminent speakers for the same. I extend my sincere thanks to the Trained Nurses Association Maharashtra State Branch for consenting to collaborate with Seva Mandal Education Societies, Srimati Sunanda, Pravin, Gambhirchand College of Nursing, and facilitating many people in the state to attend this webinar. I extend my thanks to our principal who has been always supportive and for facilitating us in collaborating with TNAI to make it on a state level and for opening the webinar today. Heartfelt thanks to Madam Surekha Sawant, President TNAI Maharashtra State Branch, for accommodating us to use this theme through this webinar on a state level and also for opening the theme. Madam, your message was indeed thoughtful and praiseworthy. LGBTQIA and their rights was well handled by Advocate Akshay Shukla. We cannot thank him enough for the resourcefulness Sir always shows towards our college. Sir not only opened up how gender has been wrongly conceptualized for ages, but he has also very objectively and sincerely in-depth explained us the rights of LGBTQIA addressed in our constitution. Such a detailed narration of articles against discrimination. We thank you, sir, for your practical touch that you showed through this webinar and shared through this webinar. My heartfelt thanks to Police Sub-Inspector Shri Deepak Dumalwad for his practical approach towards handling crime against women. Sir gave us information about rights of women right from fetal period until the old age. He extended his talk in explaining about the articles pertaining to crime at workplace, at home, and while traveling. He also enlightened us about the current scenario of lesbians, gay, and transgender, which are reflected in this community, and it's still not accepted as normal humans. Hence, their projection sometimes turns into protest for their rights. My sincere thanks to Dr. Indrajit Khandekar, Professor Forensic Medicine Toxicology, for throwing light on the policy changes in the CBM curriculum, which was much needed. So nicely explained about the existing content in the books and the uh, limitations stated therein. He also explained his views about mending the shell-cased terminologies. We thank you, sir, for such elaborate openness in this topic. Beautiful message to the new authors. Your message to the society about non-forcing for marriage without wish was very much needed to be understood and accepted. I'm indeed grateful to Dr. Bhushan Shukla for the interactive session. Your insight into practical conduct of health professional towards handling these cases of the community was indeed thoughtful and needs to be applied in the day-to-day. I thank the management of Seva Mandal and Dr. BMN College for providing us the virtual platform for this webinar in order to cover a large number of participants. My sincere thanks to Ms. Grishma and Neshwari Fernando, the organizers of this program, and for good anchoring that they did. Lastly, I thank all the faculty members, the non-teaching staff, and all the support staff for this program. And not to forget all the participants who were enthusiastically listening to all the eminent speakers. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you once again.
Thank you, ma'am. Before leaving the webinar, I request all the participants to switch on the video as we have to take the pics with everyone. Thank you, all of you, for wonderful cooperation. Now it's a time to leave the agenda webinar. I request all the participants before leaving, make sure that they should fill the feedback form as to in order to get the information for the certificate. That feedback form already we have put in the chat box. Thank you, everyone. Now everyone can exit.